Yo, what up, chat? Good morning, guys. Hello. Absence. Congratulations, you were first today. What is up? Aramis, hello. Did someone say it's time to break prod? Yep. It's always time to break prod. That's what we call Chaos Monkey. What's up, Z? Hello. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Good morning. Good morning. I'm just, getting into it. My mind is, the CPU's heating up. We're getting ready. I'm struggling with regex and Lua today. Well, we're gonna be doing some Lua, so yeah. Ironically, if you want to, you know what I'm saying. You feel me? You know what I mean? You need some help, maybe. We're here for you. But what up, everybody? How's it going? Hello. Yo, what's up, Willy Wonka? Hello. How are you, my bud? Yo, Absence, thank you for the 4 months, my friend. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you. Hope you are doing well, and thank you so much. Yeah, I'm all out of thoughts. I'm tired. All right, so let's go to GitHub. Let's go to Lsp Containers. I want to start today's stream. I am good, man. I am good. All right. I see you. You're just making me stand up right away. I know you guys make me stand just because you want to see me in my sweet pants. I know it. Exactly. I'm standing too. Sweet. So you're like, well, if I'm standing, I'm making his stand. All right. So I want to take a look at Lsp Containers because we haven't looked at it for a second. To be fair, we haven't looked at it mostly because I've been busy. But we've got a lot going on here. We've got a ticket that we've got as proposed issue. It would be useful to mount additional. Yeah. So are we still working on this? Your function returns the same value each time it's run. You could just execute that code once and pass its output to extra volumes. Oh, I have no idea what's going on here. Okay. I feel like I'm a little out of my element. Add setup for agnostic runtime support. I feel like this was something else that we did too. So if you guys don't know, we have a Neovim plugin that we've been making for a while now. It's called Lsp Containers. And if you guys don't know what Lsp Containers is, basically it's something that makes it so that you don't have to install language servers when you're using Neovim. And it utilizes Docker and Podman underneath the hood for the whole process of setting them all up and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty dope. I actually use it quite a bit, or I used it quite a bit when I wasn't on Nix, and I still think it's a really cool plugin, and I want to keep contributing to it as well. And so we actually haven't looked at we haven't really looked at this project, I would say probably in like a month, which I don't like letting it go too long. We do a lot of different stuff here, chat, so it's kind of hard to always keep up to date with the one thing that we are working on. But yeah, so I want to take a look at Lsp Containers just slightly. Now, what's interesting is I don't even have it set up right now. So that's going to be a little interesting. But I should be able to like dev on it regardless. Let me take a look at the Discord and see what has been talked about lately, because I think this might help me understand more what's been going on. And by the way, if you don't know, our Discord gives us updates on stuff like that when this happens. So would it be a good idea to maybe, so this was to the extra values, extra volumes. Okay, so it looks like most of the conversation has been around extra volumes and how like those things. Pull request, update npm package, and entry command. Oh, okay, that's one we can look at pretty easily. Yes. Update npm package in VS Code language servers extracted language server. Oh, they moved the repository. I see. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. All right, let's do that. That seems pretty straightforward. So it looks like if we go to the Docker side of stuff first, here, pull requests. Ho! Diggity dang. That's a lot. That's a lot, chat. Okay, we got PRs to go through. Let's do it, chat. Let's put on our open source hats. As the instructions on nvim lsp config server config json ls language servers extracted. Oh, okay, so we changed it now. So language servers extracted. Yep, that looks good. So we're gonna approve this. Looks good. Thank you for the update. Okay, so let's comment and then give them a heart because they deserve a heart. And then yeah, LGTM baby, let's go. All right, so let's merge that up. That looks good. What else we got? Upgrade Lua LSP to 3.5. This previous version was very old. This one, however, is only available edge, so maybe verse-wise to leave it at least for testing. The difference in speed of diagnosis is quite noticeable. I highly suggest the updated version. Okay. What makes it so wonky? I guess would be my question. Yo, what's up, Alpha Traz? How's it going? We talked about this. And format, yeah, okay. Did he add formatting? If he added formatting, I think we're good. Testing, edge, cargo, Rust analyzer testing. Oh, this is new. When was this pushed? New changes since last push. On what day was this pushed, chat? 26 days ago. Okay. Let's look at this one. So the previous version was very old. This one, however, is only available on edge testing, so it may be wise to wait for it to at least leave testing. Do we have any concerns? I guess would be my question. Yo, what's up, Glam? How's it going, buddy? A baby donkey with cheese. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. It's a great name. Add more commands by pushing. I'm open to moving this to testing for now. Do we have any I would say serious concerns with using this version? We'll see if Hugo responds. Why not just use nvim lsp config? We are. So the idea is that you use Lsp containers with Lsp config. Lsp config passes the configuration of the specific service to what's it called? To the actual service when it starts. So like this is what I would say this is a larger configuration. Like a simpler configuration could look like this, where like if you wanted to use some Init Lua, right, you set it up with Lsp config and then you pass our special command, essentially. Did I hear about the GitHub hack? No, I don't. What's the hack today? How's it going, Sanix? By the way, hello. The pitch is just above is containerize everything. Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Just containerize everything. Pretty much. I can't look at that right now. I'll have to look at it in a second. I'm focused on this. Can you give me like a TLDR, like what it is? Okay. So let's go back here. Or no, sorry, Docker files. I got distracted. I went to the wrong place. Okay. I think that's fine. Some Init Lua update. Upgrade Lua. Oh wait, this is the same thing. Update the successfully tested on. Interesting. Malicious code added to 35. Ah, jeez. Was that like was that in their CI, like in their like was that hack exploited through their CI system actions? I would imagine it was like ran on unapproved or on approved pipelines or some nonsense. That's crazy. Yeah, man, it happens. You got to be careful with your secrets. It's very true. Yo, Jarvin, thank you for the follow. Thanks for your advice on tap and hold last stream. I tried tap and hold on shift and space and found that it slowed a lot of my key. Yeah, I don't really know a real reason for it, to be completely honest. I haven't found one yet, so yeah. So this one was tested. So this is 331. I think we can merge this for now. Awesome. Let's say awesome. Thank you for the update. We can merge this for now, but once we feel confident with we will update to that later. We'll say thank you for the changes. We can merge this. We can merge this for now. Once we feel confident, we will update with 79. We will update to that later. Yeah, this looks good. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. Now they're saying that this is a first-time contributor, which is interesting. So 331 looks good. Submodule update depth 1 init recursive. Oh, okay, cool. So they added that, which is that's fine. Ninja CD. So CD third remake. So okay, they're going into the directory, which we weren't here, which is not that big of a deal, but whatever. It is what it is. And then they use a compile install. Oh, interesting. Is this new? I might have to pull this down and test this. I wonder if should we test this, chat? We should probably test this. Yeah. I don't want to like break a container. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do new directory. And then we're going to clone Lsp Containers. And then we need to clone our Docker files repository. So we're going to say git clone, boop, like that. And we're going to go here. Going to do one of them guys. And then go here. What's interesting is if I approve this, well, I don't want to approve it because I don't know if it works. Let's see here. Snore doc. Oh, I need to copy. Ah, shoot. That's right. I need to clone his, not mine. Git clone. And then the branch that he's using is what? What is it called? Some Nico Lua 331 feature. Some Nico Lua 331. Cool. Cool. All right. Boop. Boop. Except for we don't want this. There we go. Why not add it as a remote? Because I'm dumb. I didn't think about it until you said it. Do you want the honest answer? Because that's the honest answer. Okay. I'm dumb and I forgot about it until you said something because it's 8:55 in the flipping morning and I'm on camera trying to entertain you nerds. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound so ungrateful. I love you. Don't leave. I'm just kidding. I did forget though. I totally forgot. That would have been a good call actually to do it that way. Although, you know, like, do you guys, I have a question. Do many of you guys use work trees with Git? How many of you guys use work trees? Do any of you guys use work trees out here? Never use them. Interesting. I use them all the time. Oh my god, that's the wrong. I was in the wrong one. Sorry, chat. I didn't mean to LL on you like that. I use it all the time. Nope, only heard Prime talking about them. Yeah, to be fair, he's kind of the only person I ever hear talking about. No shade. Again, we love Prime. I just I've tried them once. I didn't really like them. And that was I could have done that too, right? Because once you contested my nerdness, I was like, well, I must think of all the scenarios. And I was like, well, I could have actually work treed that too. But I just don't really like them that much. However, I feel like maybe now I actually probably wouldn't mind it as much, right? I think when I first started working with work trees, I had a lot of problems because my branches were very dependent on environment variables and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whereas now, it's not as much. They're actually very easily deletable and recreatable and stuff like that, So I might actually give I think they're not bad. So, okay, my bad. So work trees, what essentially are work trees? The idea is that when you use a branch on Git, you check it out, right? You have one repo and you check out that one specific branch, right? And you switch between those branches, by using git switch or git checkout, whatever. The idea is that basically every time you check out a branch, it goes into a new folder. And then the main root repository tracks all of your checkouts. And so essentially what you do is you have a bunch of branches and then you delete them as you're done, essentially. And again, it's not terrible. It's actually, again, as all of you guys are freaking out too over it, when I heard about this as well, I was also like, oh, interesting. But I will say, if deleting your source code and recreating it is difficult for you in the sense of say you have, you're building something locally and you have a bunch of environment variables, you need a .m file, right? Or other dependencies, secrets, things like that. That becomes troublesome because you basically blow it away every single time. So if you have any requirement for persistence, which I did back in the day, I don't now. That's where I was like, this kind of, because if you think about it, every time I'd destroy that folder, I'd either have to move the secrets out of it, put it into another one, or, just recreate them manually. And again, like I said, that's not necessarily to say that's a reason you shouldn't try them. It's more so just me thinking if they work well for me, which again, I have been interested in using them, but I don't know. I also feel like if I tried it at work, that would be really bad. I don't know if we could get away with that at Hippo. I'm blanking. What am I doing again, chat? Some Nico Lua. That's right. Okay. Okay. So we want to build the some Nico Lua. So what are we going to do? We're going to do Docker compose build some Nico Lua. And we're going to hope that this builds. Welcome back, BG. You looked like you survived the prod problem. There was no prod problem. I just tweeted that because I don't know. I do that often. No, we don't. I mean, knock on wood, at least there hasn't been any problem, bro. Unless you're talking about a different prod problem. Unless I don't know what we're talking about. Again, I'm still kind of out of it this morning. I'm still a wee little tired. Was this intentional? Oh. Oh, cool. I gotta turn these notifications off, but that's cool. Having a long first build may also be a reason to avoid work trees. Yeah, yes, very true. Super good point. Yeah, or npm install, for example. As silly as this sounds, if you've got an npm install that takes forever, creating a new branch every time you're doing stuff could be, again, I'm not saying you shouldn't try them because I think it's cool technology. I'm just saying you always got to try something before you know if it's actually good for you. You have to do that, chat. You have to. Or else BG will be very disappointed in you. But that was, again, that was just my discovery. It was very much oh, interesting. You know what I mean? What was the joke? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you debated us. Yeah, man. It's like I'm a content creator or some What did you think? We were just here to code on TV all day? Oh man, we got goals too. And hey, as long as you enjoyed it, that's all that matters. Oh, it was another yeah, exactly. It was another chance to bring down production. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. But yeah, no, Jordy, I feel you there. I feel you there for sure. Well, the good news is that it built at least. Docker image image. So here's the thing, Docker image ls. Let's see. What do we want to do? Docker container. What if I just do Docker container run? Container run. RM. Lsp containers. Lua language. Oh my gosh. Language server. Latest. What happens if I just do that? What happens if we do this? Help is not executable. Okay. So let's do this. I'm trying to think of how I want to test this. Two problems. Yo, I think it's Asahid. Hello, hello. Thank you for the prime, my dude. Appreciate you. Sorry if I said your name wrong. The major advantage I have with work trees is that I tend to work on 2 to 3 things at a time. Yeah, no, that is super nice. Like I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I do the same thing. I work on a bunch of different things simultaneously, which again, I agree that is super nice. I think now, like I said, I think I could actually probably try it now and it might work. I feel like I need to make it so that I can like in my Neovim. So like, here's what I'm thinking, chat. And this is wait, what? This is kind of interesting. Like I said, right now on this computer, I'm not using Lsp containers because I'm using Nix. So it would be neat if I could go into like my dot files. You know what I'm saying, chat? And kind of make it so that I can just easily switch between the two if I wanted. Lua. The problem is I have no idea how I would do that. Like I could just comment something out, but you could see right here, like require LSP config, server setup, server config. This is entirely just using LSP config. We're not using anything else. So I'm asking myself right now if I want to do this on this, or if I just want to turn on my VM, my old VM, right, and then just do it on that VM, and have like a I guess what I'm thinking. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking, Cowface dude. Is I might just switch to Arch, because if I switch to Arch, I also have my Ansible setup, as well. Yeah. But I would like, hear me out. I would like to try and have like a nice isolated test. And like I'm also trying to think of, is this a good opportunity for me to figure out how to automate and test these things? You see what I'm saying? Like there's a much bigger problem here than just the one that we're looking at. You know, again, just like using it on Arch or something like that. It's just that we don't have an automated way of testing these language servers if they work or not. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think of like maybe what we need seriously instead is maybe we need like an environment that we can build, right? And then that environment can use it. I'm just not too sure exactly how we would do that, because you would need containers regardless. And you could technically run Neovim in a container if you wanted to as well. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, either like a Nixenv or something. But yeah, that's basically the idea. I just don't know. Again, that's a super challenge. That is something I've never tried before. Because what we want to know is first off, there's a couple things if we want to try this. One of the first ones is we need to know like which LSP it is, right? Because every LSP is going to have like a different file. Ooh, this is going to be tough to test. It might actually be easier for me to just figure out how to do it a different way. Man, that's Neovim Headless. I know that you can run Neovim Headless. And I know that you can, I know you can do like remote stuff too. Come on now. What's going on with my internet? I'm trying to use Packer to run tests. See, something like this, like nvim headless, and then like commands, because you should be able to do something like this, where you could just be like nvim headless plus QA, and then it just like opens it and then immediately closes it because I told it to do the quick command. But for example, if I wanted to, I could be like cmp tab 9 status, not an editor command. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Cmp, what is it? Hold on. I can't remember what it is. Oh, tab 9 hub. So like, for example, if I was like tab 9 hub, wait, what did I spell wrong? Oh, maybe it's because it's not loaded yet. CMP tab 9 hub. CMP tab 9 hub. Yeah, that might actually be because the plugins aren't loaded yet, which if that's the case, it's going to be even more difficult. Because if we don't have it... Ugh. Can I do this? Okay, no, I can't. You don't know if you need the plus at the start? I think it just means that it gives you more commands to run. But yeah, interesting. Okay, so that might not work then. Yeah, because see, it opens up here. Okay, so even if we want to run in headless mode, we don't have the ability of, like, we'd have to figure out how to also load the plugins. Yeah, it might be better. Okay, let's try something else. Headless-C. Oh, let's try it. Oh, wait, what? Look at this. Yep. Thank you, chat. Hey, come on now, you little butt cheek. Stop doing that. Did you see him right there? See his little eyes? That's a cat. Oh, you're fine. The repository contains various self-contained Neovim containers. The goal of TriDevim is to improve bug reports related to system-environment Neovim. But ooh, that's pretty dope. Oh, dear say, thank you for the 100 biddies. Hope you're having a good day. Trying to go between monitors again? No. So the problem that we're trying to solve, basically, chat, is that we want to be able to run... It's kind of difficult, but we want to be able to run Lsp containers in like a controlled environment so that we can test and see if these things are working. And it's going to be a little difficult if we want to like actually do it right. And I actually don't think we should use Nix here. I think we should use Docker just because we use Docker like everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that like I almost want to, let's look and see how they're doing their try stuff. So let's go to TypeScript, Init Lua. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of similar. They have like a very simple Init Lua here. Build container, podman build. Okay, so let's see the Docker file. Interesting. So what's kind of neat that I like is that these have their own folders with like their own scoped tests and stuff. So like one of the things I'm thinking that I'm kind of inspired from just by looking at this is almost like in servers where we have like some Nico here and then the Docker file. What we could do, kind of a thought here. What we could do is we could have like a test stage. And so the whole idea behind it is we'd be like from build as test, right? Like I'm wondering if we could write our tests into the same Docker file. You feel me, chat? You see what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking like how, like where could we put these? Like what we could tell people is we could say like, hey, we have, and like what we could also do is we could also say like we could have like a new base image for like the binary and then have a base image for testing, right? Kind of like how Try's doing it. So like for example, what we could do is we could say from build as test. For now, I'm not going to really try and have like Neovim latest or anything like that. But so this is Alpine. So let's just do like run apk add no cache Neovim. Right? So it's just stupid, very simple. We're just going to add Neovim to the actual image itself. And then we're going to do the Docker compose build again. Build. All right. And so what I want to do is, oh, but I only built that one stage. Right. Okay, so how would I build other stages? So we might even need to automate this part, to be honest. Some Nico Lua test. Some Nico Lua. Can I tell it which stage to target? I can't remember. Docker compose reference. Build context args target. Okay, yeah, you call it target though. So you say target and then we say test, right? And then what we could do is be like test Docker image ls. Okay, so now we've got a test image. So now I should be able to do like Docker container, right? Container run rm, right? And then I should be able to do nvim like this. Yeah, there you go. And so you see how I can even, now I can at least get inside of a Neovim in this container. Interactive TTY. And there you go. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, chat. I'm kind of thinking like we start adding tests to Docker files. And then we have base images in those Docker files that, okay, so let's I need charts, chat. We need charts. Charts. Somebody get this man charts. I need documentation. If I'm going to make something good, I got to document it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to document what we're trying to do. To the charts. All right. Bare metal cloud developer. I almost feel like I need to make like a new one for, because this is all Alt F4 stuff. Oh man, there's so much stuff in here too, dude. There's like so much stuff in here. Okay. No, we need that one. Chat, we've done a lot of things. We've done some stuff. Bare metal infrastructure, Samba shares. I'm wondering, yeah, I think I'm just going to make a new one for... Bear with me 1 second, chat. I need to make a new... I am upgraded. How dare you talk to me that way? Lucid chart, blank document. Come on now. All right, so here we go. So what we want to talk about, chat, is first off, we want to change this document. We're going to say Lsp Containers, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to change the flipping background because it's bright. I don't know why I don't know why Lsp Containers. I don't know why Lucid Chart hasn't made a dark mode yet. But like it's pretty much right there. We can do it. Lucid Charts. I believe in you. Okay. So here's basically one. Oh, so there's two things I want to do. First I want to do is I want to outline how Lsp Containers works, right? Now, we've kind of already done this once before. Actually, yeah, we have done this once before. Where is that chart? I think that chart is in here. We can take that. So we could say, we'll call this chart the overview chart, right? And this overview chart is going to show you guys, or and anyone else, basically how Lsp Containers works. Developer process, CI/CD. Don't tell me I deleted that, man. It was such a good chart, too. Aw, I think I did, chat. I gotta recreate it. Dang. That sucks. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Dang! I think I deleted it. Yeah. All right. Yo, Ace Talone. Oh my gosh, I cannot say your name right. Astalone, I think. I don't know. I can't say your name. Thank you so much though for the tier 1. I apologize that I butchered your name. I tried, man. I tried. All right. Don't hate me too much. But thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, man. The support to the community and the stream. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I apologize. It's too early and it's hard to read things on the internet. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. How are you, by the way? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so we're gonna have to start from scratch. Bummer. All right, so the first thing that we start, can anyone tell me well, I don't know, you guys might not be able to because I might have to get you. Okay, let me get you started. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is the editor, right? Now, the editor in this case is gonna be Neovim, right? And we've already kind of, like, if you've seen a stream like this before and you go, wait a minute, that makes sense. This is going to be very similar to a previous stream I've done. I had a chart that I made from this, but I guess I lost it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have an editor, right? We have an editor, and this editor is Neovim, right? Now, by default, the TLDR is that editor opens up files, right? This is really all it does. Is it just opens up files. Document. Yeah, you guys are getting like a live rerun. Unfortunately, I deleted the thingy. So yeah, documents, great. So we'll say that these are like our source code. Hopefully I can make it better than I did last time. Source code. And this will make it a little bit more worth your while. And I'm gonna actually put this in the, what's it called as well. I'm gonna put it in the actual repo for Lsp Containers. All right, so basically your editor by default, right? An editor just goes out and it modifies your source code, right? This is the equivalent of Notepad or really just any very, very simple editor, right? As developers, there are some of us who have said that is all I need. Congratulations, you are on a level beyond me, my friend. I need more than that. And this is why quite often, you'll see editors start to do things where they start having like attachments, or not attachments, extensions, right? And so maybe we could call those like, we'll call these like apps, right? Right. And so then what happens is we say like, okay, well, we want to have source code, but then we want to be able to empower that source code, right? And so we create extensions. And this is where your editor starts to kind of step away from being just like a very simple text editor to actually being more so of something that's like focused on development per se, right? Because you can think about this, chat, truly. You can open up any editable document, any text file in any editor you want. But the editor you choose is normally heavily based off of what you need or what you're looking for. Yeah, those are OG Vim users. Yeah, exactly. Like Avi doesn't use much at all. He basically just uses Neovim in some basic settings. So let's do this. Let's put this down here. We'll say like, okay, well then Neovim, loads extensions and it uses it opens our source code to do editing, right? So the extensions are where things get interesting. Now, if you're talking about like VS Code, then these are, whatever comes from the store or whatever. However, in the Neovim scenario, these are all Lua plugins, right? So these are all things that are basically powered by Lua code, right? And so the idea is that our editor Neovim knows how to interpret extensions through our own source code. So again, we're just doing more source code here, right? More source code that goes to our extensions, right? And so then that is what's loaded and runs our editor power. Now, when the extensions are loaded, this is really where, like, this part here is like, this is the cool part of writing and making Neovim plugins is that you can kind of do anything you want with it. As long as you can essentially do whatever the Neovim language can do. And so in our case, right, there's a few things that happen. The first thing is like source code now kind of becomes like, dot TS or, dot, what is it? RS, is that Rust? RS is Rust, right? Dot RS, Rust, etc. Right? And so the idea is that now we're not just loading source code in general, right? But we're loading source code with like specific parameters. So if it's a TypeScript file, it's a Rust file, etc. Right? So what happens is at this point, our extension source code knows how to read this and do stuff. And so what we want to do is we want to say, okay, well, editor, there's another thing we want to add to this, and that is our language server support. Essentially, is I think the easiest way to put it. Now, when I talk about language server support, does anyone, in simplest terms, know what I'm talking about? At least with relation to Neovim. I'm not talking about Neovim itself, but we added, something was added to Neovim so that language servers were something that were more supported. Does anyone know what that is by any chance? And I'm trying to find, I need to find another sweet icon for this. Process, maybe? NVim LSP. A client that can work with LSP servers. Exactly, yeah. And that's what NVim LSP is. Or basically, when Neovim added language server support, that's what we got out of it, right? So when I say that like extensions, right, are one thing, what I also mean to say is that like we also have something to the side of extensions, and those are the actual language server support. So when you write extensions, you're going to be leaning on the language server support that Neovim has if you're doing anything related to language servers. Dang it, dude. I need to think of something I can put here, and I really like the coloration and everything, but I think this is all AWS stuff. So let me see shapes. AWS. What is all of this in? Management and governance. I love it. Let's see if there's other stuff in management and governance that can relate to this. This looks kind of crazy. Oh, here we go. That's simple enough. All right, and so we'll call this our language server client, I guess. Now, I don't want to get too technical with this because I feel like if Tej looked at this, he might be like, yeah, you're an idiot. This is wrong. But I'm pretty sure this is close to what essentially it's supposed to, what everything is supposed to represent. And so what happens is that the extension is going to communicate to the language server client, right? In this case, like so. And then this language server client is basically going to execute the language server. And maybe a better way of putting this is in reverse, now that I think about it. Yeah, well, thank you for the follow, by the way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically Lsp containers in a nutshell. Yeah. Hey, I reached out to Doppler about a potential partnership, making some videos for them. I mentioned you, so they might reach out to you as well. Say hi from I will. Thank you, Agile. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're pretty hardcore Doppler supporters here, so thank you. Yeah, I hope it works out with you too, man. That'd be cool. We haven't tried reaching out to them or anything like that. So that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. So source code. Let's just flip this stuff around. Oh, hold on. Why is this just like dying on me? It's so weird. Okay, there we go. And then this is going to go to our language server client, like so, right? And so what's actually going to happen is our language server client is going to connect to our language server. And that is a container. Now, this doesn't always have to be a container, right? As a matter of fact, like in normal circumstances, this is just a process. But what we did is we said that through our extension source code, that when you try loading a language server client, we want you to actually fire a container. And so we override it. That's like the TLDR is that Lsp container, Lsp containers basically overrides the normal language server that is executed from the language server client, and then it runs it in a container instead, right? And that's basically Lsp containers. Now, like another thing that, you know, if you wanted to, you could say like, okay, well, Lsp containers then sits on top of like Docker, right? Like this. I think the extensions are set. They are. And this, well, they are here. Like they are here as well. What we're saying is that the Neovim editor manages extensions and manages the language server client. But what we're saying is our extension manages the language server client as well, which it does, right? In our extension, we tell the language server client to override this or override that and so forth and so on. Does that make sense? It might, maybe it doesn't make sense here. If you feel like I should change it, I can try and figure out maybe a more suitable way of changing it. But that's the idea is that essentially the Neovim editor has the ability to use extensions and the language server client. Our source code is loaded. Maybe this is a better way of doing it. See if I can flip this. Whoop, like that. So our source code is loaded into extensions, which is then managed by the language server client, which is then what runs our Lsp container. I think maybe this might make more sense if we do that. I just don't know if that's 100% accurate because I don't know if it's your extension that loads and fires off the language server client or if it's just that you're overriding existing ones that would probably be a Tej question. I'd probably have to ask Tej on that one, because I don't know the intricacies of the Neovim source code that well, and I don't want to misrepresent it. But that would be my only thing, is that I don't know if the Neovim editor launches the client itself and then the extensions here just override them, or if you in your extensions are actually setting up the clients to make the calls to create the language server. If that's the case, then what that means is that Neovim can only actually load language servers through extensions, right? Does that make sense? And so yeah, this is basically Lsp containers. Editor. Oh, cool. Is that like a whole? Whoa. Wait, what is this? Is this like a? Wait, is this an actual text editor? I have no idea what that is. Anyways, so what we want to do is we kind of need to replicate this and put this into a container, right? That's kind of the goal that we want to do is we want to say, going back to this, we want to say like, okay, if I'm testing some Nico Lua, right? Well, what I want to do is I first want to build out the language server, the Lsp container, right? Like we have this already done. That's this part here. But what we don't have is any of this. And so what I'm trying to think of is I'm trying to think of like what would be the easiest, like, you know, because remember chat, this like my chat is about work, or my job is about working with you guys, right? So not only am I sitting here thinking like, how could we do this? But I'm also thinking like, how could we do this in a way that makes sense to people so that they can also easily do it too? You know what I mean? What mechanisms do we already have in place, right? Like we already use Docker. Docker is a very big part of what we do. And so that's what kind of makes me go like, maybe there's a way that we can take like, again, this first stage here and use this as our normal stage, right? And then be like, okay, well then what you're going to do is you're going to, you know, make a test stage, right? Make that like a requirement, and then say like, okay, in this test stage, you like, we're gonna have to make some documentation, right? But I guess my only thing is I like, even with this, like they're gonna have to use it, right? Like I just don't know if we could fully automate. I don't know if we could fully automate the process. Maybe though. I don't know. Got idiot proof. Yeah. In case of Lsp, it's a bunch of settings that help fire up the client. As far as I know, Neovim could fire up an Lsp container by itself, but it is a pain to do it. So Lsp. Okay, so in this case, Cowface dude, in this case, Lsp config, which is basically an extension to Neovim, right, is loading your language server client, right? In this case, that's what I'm hearing, at least. I think. Can we use remote containers? Maybe. I don't know. We're spitballing here, right? We're just kind of asking questions. One other thing I want to do. Hang on one second, chat. Is I want to make some tickets on this, and I need to make these tickets in linear, because if they're not in linear, I'm not going to remember them. So what I think we need to do first is, okay, so we know that we can build it. We need to ask ourselves what we need to do this. Okay, so let's do this. Let's say create Docker file build testing, or integration testing, maybe integration testing. And so we'll say problem, we have no way to currently make changes to a Lsp container server, and verify they work on all platforms before merging. Right now, we don't want to necessarily say like all platforms, but we could say on supported platforms before merging, right? So what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves, what do we need, right? That's going to be like the first thing we're going to want to ask ourselves. And so we're going to put this in progress and we'll say, well, first off, we know we're going to need the language server binary itself, right? Like we're going to need the actual binary to run the language server, or we can say the language server build, right? The next thing we know we're going to need is we're going to need Neovim. Now, we don't necessarily, like, here's a question. Which Neovim do we care about? All right, I'm going to hit you guys with questions quick. I want to see what you guys' opinions are on this. I kind of already know the answers to these, but I want to see what you guys think. Should we test with latest or nightly? Latest. Nightly. Now, the question I'm asking you guys is, should we test with Neovim latest or Neovim nightly? Which do you think, and by latest, we mean stable, not anything else. So again, latest means stable in this case. I apologize if I said that wrong, or nightly. What do you guys think? Now remember, the whole purpose of doing integration tests on this level is to make sure that we can run these automatically if possible in the future without caring about it. So you're going to want to, I'm going to give you a hint here, which is you're going to want to think about underlying changing factors and if those are something to consider or not. Interesting. Go. Where'd my dadgum vaporizer go? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Stable is my opinion because the one I use and assume more people use. I actually think nightly is used more than stable is. Yeah. Latest is my opinion, but you could also have a nightly. In my opinion, 6.0 above would be good right now. There are a few people using it. Although if it works on nightly, it works on stable. I'm assuming nightly is probably the better option. Unstable nightly like my brain. Nice. On the other hand, nightly could make more and charge, probably fix a day or two. Or nightly, do we have stats? Do we have stats on what? The vote? The vote right now is 30% latest, 70% nightly. If that's what you're asking. You are not living on edge. Okay, so nightly. So 70% of you said nightly. Well, let's think about that. Let's think about that for a second. Oh, I have no stats on it. No, it's just whatever we choose. Let's think about that for a second. We have never ever been like, hey, we support a specific Neovim. This is something completely new to us. Right? So that's something to consider, right? Which is we've never had a base like requirement. So this is going to kind of set that as well, right? Now the first thing to think here is, okay, well, what do we care about, right? Like, what are our users using, right? Now we don't actually have an answer on that because I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea how many people use Lsp containers. Now we have like almost 200 stars on GitHub or something like that. So, at the bare minimum, you'd probably think that maybe we've got at least 100 users, something like that, right? Maybe, if we're lucky. So even in that case, right, we still don't have enough to be confident and really say like it's one way or another, right? We don't have numbers. Like this is something that happens all the time at work for me, which is when something is brought up and you don't have numbers, nobody cares. It's like, not to be rude, it's just like, that's not what we do here. You know what I mean? We move on actual numbers. So we can't really say we know that one is one or the other. when we're talking about just like normal support, stable, right, would be the go-to, because of the circumstance where you know, are just trying to support what is probably, you know, the most less touched, right? Nightly is something that's touched every night. Phrasing. And versus, you know, like stable. So there's a plus for that, right? There's a plus for that. So we could say stable changes less often. However, right? However, does not include up to date changes, right? And then we could say nightly is changed almost every day and possibly breaks often. I love Neovim. Nightly is very much nightly. There are times where nightly feels great. You feel like a you know, a mega nerd because you're using nightly, and then the next day you upgrade your Neovim and you wish you weren't using nightly. So trust me, like there's you know, there's arguments to both sides. So when we say like what do we have, we don't really have a bunch, right? We don't really have a bunch in this case. So what I would probably do is I would probably focus on stable, then once working, build a nightly test as well. The reason why I think this is the best play is because the vector at which Neovim nightly can update and something break is higher than you getting it working and in place. So think about trying to implement this and nightly changes. The next day, your tests are broken. Right? That's something to really consider here. It doesn't mean that we don't want to do it. It just means that like we need to be practical with what's going to work first. More than likely, right? We can at least lean on nightly as it's not being changed as, or I'm sorry, stable as it's not being changed as much to get our tests working, everything in place. And then we go back and we say, okay, now we're going to actually add a nightly one as well. And then what we do is we say like, okay, we care about the stable one, right? And the nightly one. But if the nightly one fails, we don't care about it as much, right? Because then what we can do is we could simply put like nightly badges. And we could even say like, we need badge statuses, right? Badge status for each Neovim version that we test. Because here's the cool thing, chat. Here's another thing that's really cool is if we wanted to, right? Once we get stable down, we can add nightly, we can add pre-release, like we can add a bunch of different stuff to this. But I think the main thing is that we need to focus on stable. And then once we get that working, we add others. So I definitely think having badge statuses as well for each Neovim version that we test would be very good. Let's think about Neovim a little bit further. And so what I'm going to do here is we're going to say the version, we'll say versions tested. And then we need to say, okay, so we know that we're going to use Neovim stable, right? Okay. What is the next bare requirement to be able to test this? Now, we don't care, right? We don't care about like themes or anything like that. What we want to do is we simply want to get this working to where it's loading, right? And if we open up Neovim in our container, it should fire basically another container. So within Neovim, the next thing we're going to need is what, chat? What do you guys think we need next to get this set up, right? What do you guys think we need next? A basic Init Lua. Okay. Okay. That is one thing we need. Yes. You're not wrong. But is there anything we need before that? Nope. Not the actual test. Although we will need those. Yes, we will need those. You're not... You're Avi, if you're out there, goddamn you. You're thinking too ahead of yourself, chat. You're getting too ahead of yourself. You're on the right path with regards to the init.lua, but there's a bigger problem that we need to solve right now. Or at least there's a problem we need to figure out how we're going to solve. Can you tell me what that is? I'm a junior. No, it's okay. It's okay. Can anyone tell me what? It's related to the Init Lua. So there is a problem that we need to solve that is not going to be easy within building that we need to solve for. The OSM? Nope, not the OSM. It's very simple, guys. It's the first thing you do whenever you create. Like, think about it. Think about this. I want you guys to think about this. You just have a brand new Neovim, right? What is the first thing you do what is the first thing you go look for? That's a hint. When you have a brand new version of Neovim or a fresh install of Neovim, what is the first thing you go look for? Or one of the, I guess, yeah, it would probably be the first thing you go look for. Packer. There you go. Yeah, we need a package manager of some sort, right? We need a package manager. That's what we need. We don't have, even if we have Init Lua, we have no way of, like, we need to figure out how we're going to install those packages. Now, the reason why I bring this up, chat, is because of this. Okay, you ready? By default, we would use something like Packer, right? This requires us to run a Packer install before we start Neovim, right? That's a big challenge there, right? So we kind of want to avoid that. We don't want to have to run another command before, like, we just want to have a predetermined setup, bim, bam, boom, right there, done, and we go. We could use plug. We could use plug, which provides some headless support, right? Or there's another one, which is we could also avoid any package manager and clone the repositories manually. Remember, chat, that we don't need a package manager here, right? So we want to ask ourselves the question, right? Like, okay, normally we would need one. And in this case, do we need one, right? And so in this case, I actually think it's better for us to avoid any package manager and just clone them manually, because this would also give us the opportunity to make a lot of these more deterministic, right? Instead of just running Packer install, what we could do is we could clone a repository with a specific SHA and a specific version and say, like, okay, we want to, like, when it comes to testing, chat, I know I've been talking about Nix a lot lately, but it's been for very good purpose. Think about the problems we're running into right now with trying to reproduce what we need. This is very difficult, right? We said, well, there's multiple versions of Neovim out there, and there's multiple versions of our packages out there. And, like, here's a question, chat. How would you pin, like, and I'm sure you can, but, like, it's a bit more difficult to pin a package and then have it be, you know, like, all of that be done through Packer rather than simply just say, like, hey, this is the SHA of the change, right? And so that's what Nix really focuses on, right? Is it kind of, like, when you manage Neovim with Nix, you don't manage it with a package manager, because Nix is the package manager. It's the thing that moves your plugins into the path that you need. So we can emulate that here, right? And if we were using Nix, we would probably just be doing that directly. So I think in this case, when we talk about like what we need, right? We need our language server build. We need Neovim, right? And with Neovim, we're going to need versions that we're going to test, you know, specific versions, or we'll call supported versions, right? Package management, right, is what we'll call it instead, right? And so after we have package management, right, now we've solved the problem of what version we want, what packages we need. What do you think we need now, chat? Right? So the problems we've solved so far, we have our language server build done and ready to go, right? We now have our supported versions that we know we're going to build with done and ready to go. We also have our package manager. So now we can pretty much install any package we need, right? So what do you think we need here? Next. What do you guys think we need next? We've already said it, by the way. Any ideas on what we would need next? Init Lua. Yep. We need an Init Lua now. So now we need a basic configuration, right? Now in this basic configuration, what do we need to set up the language server, right? So let's go look at Lsp config, because that's going to be the first thing. Oh, I already have it open. Okay, so they say that we're going to need some packages, right? So we'll need at least the package manager or whatever in this case, which we're not using, and then we'll need the package itself, nvim lsp config. So if we go back to our document here, we need to initialize. Where is it? Yeah. So after we use it, or after we get it, basically, we just start setting up our repository. So what we need to do then is we need to initialize our LSP config for the specific language server, right? Okay, so let's look at this, and then we also need to initialize our LSP container for the specific language server. So what this means is that, again, if we're looking at it and how we're solving problems, we should now have our supported versions, the package management taken care of, our basic configuration with LSP config and LSP containers set up inside of it. So at this point, that should mean that I should be able to open up a file, and I should be able to open up a file, and I should be able to see that file. But how do I know? I guess here's the question is how do I know if it's working or not, chat? That's going to be the next question we need to ask ourselves. So we're also going to need a basic, or we'll say a sample source code, right? So after we've got our basic configuration, we need to test it. So we're going to need to be able to test it with some sample source code. And we'll say that we need to create a simple hello world, right? We can say hello world for each language. That's going to be fun to test with, right? Create a simple hello world for each language to test with. Now, this isn't actually going to be Neovim stuff. This is just like stuff we need in general, sample source code. All right, so let's look through this one more time. So we need our language server build, That's in the Docker file. We need Neovim. We need to be able to have supported versions of Neovim. We need to be able to have the ability to package or manage our packages. And then we need to be able to set up our configuration. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that we might need with regards to Neovim and setting up the language server, right? So again, we've got Neovim, we've got the version we care about, we've got the packages we care about, we've got the configuration we care about, we've got some sample source code, right? That would be dependent on projects. Like TS Server, you could just use the source repo itself. For some, you could clone popular project repos from the internet. Yeah, I almost want to, like I said, I think it's going to be really important that nothing changes underneath the tests. And so if we're cloning stuff from the internet, I just don't want to introduce any, potential changes that could break stuff. Again, I think our dependencies need to be locked, and then we will update those dependencies as needed. How will you verify if the LSP works when just opening up a sample file? So Wetsty, that's kind of what I'm trying to think of right now. One of the things that you can do is if you do LSP info, you get the output, right? So what I'm thinking is that what we might do is we might figure out a way of reading this. But if we can get here and we see like the command, basically if we can get here and we see the command populated, then we're good. Yeah, or something like it. But there are LSP options. There's info, restart, stop, start. We could do log as well. Oh, never mind. I guess we can't do log. LSP info, though, again, is probably going to be our best bet. I think this is the only thing, unless there's also, like there might be, and I'm sure that actually, I'm almost positive, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's a way that you could also like check to see what the active LSP is by like the command line. We'll have to we'll figure that out. Like that is the one little golden nugget that will like tie everything together. We'll figure that out. We got a lot of other problems to figure out. Yo, what's up, Kate's dirty sister? Hello. Can we send some command to standard in and inspect output? Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe. Yeah, I'm not too sure, honestly. I'm not too sure. And you know what's really cool about this is if we can do this, we could actually show how other people could test their, like, their stuff too. So this could be a neat thing that we do. But yeah, we are going to need to figure that out. Plenary test? Maybe. Yeah. To be honest with you, I've not used Plenary that often, so I don't know much about it. I would probably have to talk to Tej. In all seriousness, I'd probably have to talk to Tej. Yeah, exactly. Ha! Calvi. Same, buddy. Same. But that's the nice thing about having a friend that works on the editor you use. Makes it a lot easier. Might be a stupid question, but we have to run Lsp container on our local. So no, you actually were getting to another point that I was just thinking about and I was going to bring up. I'm glad you saw it, which is we need Docker. So one thing to note about this whole setup is that this is going to be, so what we want to do is we want to achieve a complete testing environment inside a container that we can automate in the future for integration tests, right? Everything should run inside this one container, right? So that means that we should be able to have the language server Neovim. We're already using Docker. Yeah, we're already using Docker. So in this case, what we would probably do is we would probably do Docker and Docker. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm still struggling at setup predators that fell back to ESLint. You're good, Bruno. You're good. Welcome, by the way, Bruno. But yeah, what we would probably want to do is even before we go here, we need to figure out a way at runtime, or we'll say use Docker in, Docker at runtime for mounting or for creating containers. Right, so that's going to be something else we're going to need to do as well, containers. Which means if that's the case, what I think we should do is we should build the base image first so we don't have to pull this in CI. Does that make sense? Right, so we should pull this base image, like we should build everything we need so we don't have to make Neovim wait when it has to do all of its stuff here, right? Like we don't want to have to make Neovim wait. So what we should really do is we should build this first, right? And then we go through all this stuff, which we're going to do anyways, but yeah. I'm pretty hyped on this, Chad. This is cool. Listen, I did not expect to be doing this today, or at least, planning for this, but like this is actually a neat project. This is a super neat project. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Sorry guys, give me a second. I'm checking my emails. I mean, if I just need an Lsp server, do I need to run Docker every time I code? No, testing related. So yeah, Lsp Containers does that for you. If we go back to our chart, right? Neovim loads your source code, right? Neovim also loads extensions. These extensions are made with source code. This source code tells extensions to launch language server clients when you open your files, right? Once you open your file, this extension tells this language server client to create a Docker container instead of creating a normal process on your computer. In a normal scenario, what you would do is you would start a process after like downloading the language server to your computer itself. In this scenario, you don't have to do that. You don't have to build it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It just downloads the container image and runs it for you. Only one. Well, so it depends on how many, like if you open up like a Rust file and a JavaScript file and a TypeScript file, or I'm sorry, not a, that's, they use the same thing. Yeah, like basically if you're using completely separate language servers, then you'll create a new language server per language. But you would not create a new language server per file. The client and the extensions are smart enough to where they know, how to reuse the same language servers and stuff like that. But the main point is that, yeah, that this is all managed by our extension, Lsp Containers, and Lsp Containers kind of, again, creates all that stuff for us very easily. Okay, so let's go back here. Yeah, so the last thing we're going to really need to do and say here is we need to find a way to determine if language servers are properly working or not. That's going to be the hard part, really. Is this one right here is what do we need? We need to find a way to determine if it's working. So at this point, right? Again, we've got our language server build. We've got all of our Neovim stuff. We've got our sample source code. We've also got Docker and Docker. So now we know that it's been built. We've got a version. We've got our packages. We've got our configuration. We've got Docker. Here is where we find a way to determine if a language server is working or not. And so we could say possibly use LSP info to look for the command currently active or currently running, right? Oh yeah, of course, Bruno. Feel free to. You guys are all welcome to share your Neovim configs and stuff. You guys are also welcome to share them in the Discord. I don't know. We should have a Vim channel. I think we do. Yeah. Look, Vim channel. Haha. No zoom for you. But we have a Vim channel right here. Bam. There you go. You should share it. I always love looking at people's Vim files. Okay. Do we feel like we are missing anything? Do we feel like we're missing anything? Right? Also, so two-part question here, chat. One, do you see how I like handle problem solving in my brains? Right? I didn't know how to do this. I had no idea how to do this. But with a little help of you guys, of course, and sitting down and just saying, what do I need? Look at how much information we've got. So, two-parter. One, do you like this process? Do you like sitting here and being able to say, okay, let's think this out. Let's think this through. So that when you step back and you go like, am I ready? Does this help? Do you think this helps? Is my first question. And then my second question is, do you think that we are good? Right? Do you think that we need to add anything? Do you think that if I was a staff engineer or something like that, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go give this to one of our engineers to go build. Do we think that, like, if I gave this to you, do you think that you have something that you could work? Like, if I gave this to you, chat, do you think you could do this confidently? You might not be able to solve it right away, but here, let's do this. I'm going to do a poll. Could you confidently start working? Yes. No. All right. So tell me if you think that you could confidently start working with this. Like, you could take this and go, okay, I can move quick, right? It's not like you're going to look at something and you're going to go like, okay, what's my next step? What's my next step? What's my next step? But like, sit down and go like, I see a path. Do you feel like having this gives you that confidence? That's a TDD, right? Yeah, it's basically a technical document. Yeah. Shame on part lurking because I'm working right now, but I really enjoy this process. Well, hey, that's what we always got the wiki, or I'm sorry, not just the wiki, chat. We got two things for you, the wiki as well as the YouTubes. So don't worry, they'll be there. They'll be there. By the way, you can say no. Like, you are like, if you don't feel like you could confidently move forward with this, that's fine. I just want to know if you feel like you could or not. And again, no, it's not that big of a deal. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But my main point of, I hate this shit. Yeah. My main point of asking the question is because I think this right here is what is lost at a lot of companies. We spent 45 minutes sitting here kind of like breaking this down and thinking this through, right? And going like, okay, like, what do we need? How can we start, and that 45 minutes probably gave us, I would say, 2 to 3 hours of our actual time, because I guarantee you, outside of this, which we've already solved, if you would have like just said like, okay, I'm just going to do it, figure it out along the way, you would have gotten here, and then you would have tried figuring out for the next 2 days how to install Neovim nightly. I would literally almost put money on it that you would easily start at the supported versions part and then get caught up somehow and like try to install Neovim nightly, and then like 2 days later get it done and be like, oh, okay, now I can go on to my next step. What do I do now? Like, that's so hard to keep context of what you're working on and what you're doing when you work that way. This at least gives me the ability of saying like, okay, well, I'm not, you know what? I don't even care about nightly, right? Nightly was way too tough. We're just going to do stable, right? So yeah, it's this kind of stuff I'm trying to like, embed into your engineering psyche. Because like writing, like I even put a tweet out about this today. Nope, that's Prime, not me. That happens quite often because we both have those. Like this right here is a pretty accurate statement, right? Being asked to make technical docs and no one reads them. It's true. It happens, it happens quite a bit. But the reality of it is if you do it for yourself, it will always pay off. It'll always pay off whenever you do it for yourself. It might not always when you do it for others, but it will always pay off for yourself, I promise. I love this process of orienting your thought process through questions. I mean, yeah, me too, buddy. I've become obsessed with it. Yeah, what's up, Rekabik? Isn't discovery that necessary? Isn't discovery necessary at times? How do you balance? Great question, dude. Super great question. Discovery. Let's talk about discovery, chat. So listen. Oh, you're going to kick a kitty out of a seat, cowface, dude. There is a sweet little boy right there. You see him? See him right here? He's just sitting, seeping. You're gonna make him go. Well, he's just gonna go to his other chair. Would I like a breakfast croissant? I would like a breakfast croissant. I probably won't eat it until like noon, but yeah, I'll have it. We're gonna talk about discovery, chat. Don't worry, Rekabik. I haven't forgot about your question. This is actually very important to me because I deal with this. Everybody, this is Fonz. Where are you looking? There you go. This is Alphonse, chat. He is a very sweet boy. You gonna program today? You gonna take care of all my on-call tickets? This is just an Alphonse stream now, chat. We're not doing anything else. Okay, he's done. All right. Let's talk about discovery. I'm good. Let's talk about discovery. How many of you could just say one, we're not going to do a poll. How many of you would say you learned through mostly discovery? Just give me a 1 in chat if you say like that's how you do most of your learning, through discovery. Unsubscribe. I'm sorry. I mean, he jumped through it himself. There's no way only Cowface Dude is the only person in this chat who learns through discovery. I do not believe most of you just go to the internet and immediately start like reading nothing but documentation. I mean, maybe because I do that for sure, but I'm like, I can't imagine that. Like I even still use discovery a lot as a way of learning. I just go and try and build stuff if I hit a wall and then step back and try again. Right, that's exactly what I'm talking about. If any of you do that, this is to you, okay? This is who I'm talking to. So the question in chat was, how do you, like, isn't discovery necessary? Like, how do you balance those things? So I definitely have a bit of like, you know, ADD. For starters, there's a slight chance that I'm actually autistic. Or partially on the spectrum, though I don't fully know yet. And so I do have other, you know, like things, like I deal with anxiety and like those have been diagnosed, but these other things have not. However, I struggle, whether it be ailment or not, with focus on one thing, especially when it's through like, oh, I want to discover and like I want to learn through discovery, right? Like I want to be an explorer out in the world, you know, and stumble across this new thing that teaches me this cool thing, and I get to have this really cool experience with that. The problem is normally when you want that, it's very hard to reproduce because technology is difficult, for one. Documentation is tough, for two. And, you know, you might just be at a different point in your career where it might be difficult for you to understand something, right? So that's when discovery is kind of bad. When you are, you know, either doing something that's really way out there, that's like, you know, Like, you're interested in it, that's great, but like it has nothing to do with what you're currently working on. There's no scope related at all to, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of discovery, in my opinion, is not properly impact. Like, that's not a positive impact. So when you ask me, how do I manage my discovery? That's what I manage, right? What I manage is I manage what I like to call, or what I like to think of like as a scoped discovery, where I know I'm a nerd and I know I like shiny things, right? And if a shiny like appears while I'm working, I know I'm going to get distracted by it. Kubernetes, big one. That's a big one for people. People start looking at containers and then they think they need to learn Kubernetes, and it's like a fly to a buzzer. Like, they just go and then they like regret ever learning Kubernetes. But yeah, the idea there is like, a good idea would have maybe been to say, okay, Kubernetes is neat. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Kubernetes is neat, but like, maybe now's not the time, right? Maybe now's not the time right in the middle of this work that I'm trying to focus on, or whatever. So I think you have to, when you talk about managing discovery, I think you have to really manage your expectations when it comes to the project and what you're creating. You cannot, as an engineer, you cannot treat every project as a discovery. Like, I'm looking into your souls right now, because you can't do that. You're gonna more than not hit roadblocks of impacting other teams if you're doing it at your company, which can be negative. You're going to potentially risk a lot of time that you don't need to in certain places. And so I do think that having like a focus is good. And being able to recognize like, okay, this is cool, but like, this is not what I need to be focused on right now. Yeah, I really think, you know, again, sitting down and being able to say like, okay, this is the scope of what I'm trying to do. And then go back to that. Once you start feeling like once you start working on something for more than 2 hours and you go back to your document and you go like, oh, this has nothing to do with what I was working on, you're kind of wasting your own time at that point. And it's up to you. You can choose to waste that time if you want. But like, I know the scope of this now, right? If I started, you know, messing with a ton of different Neovim versions, right? Like, here's the thing, chat. If I started working with nightly, even though in my documentation I just say focus on stable, that's me going through discovery, but it's also negatively impacting me because I already said I don't care about that right now. Right? Now, it could be cool. It could be a very fun thing to learn and try, but I just said that I'm not going to focus on that right now. So that's how I do it. That's really how I do it. And I will say that when there are circumstances where it's just like pure discovery, right? I create tickets for those things. So for example, if we go to like Quirk, right? There's a bunch of stuff in here that I know I want to do eventually that I want to get to that is complete discovery for me. Like add a Rabbit MQ provider. We don't have that at all in Quirk. We don't have any type of automation or things like that. Or, well, we do, but not fully. That's like a complete discovery thing. Event message tracing, that's a complete discovery thing, right? And some other things. But I think that's really important is being able to say like, okay, this is my scope. And then if I want to do something else, I'll just create a ticket for it later or something else, you know? It doesn't mean you can't get to it. It just means having the discipline of saying, I'm not going to do that right now will take you from like a 4 times engineer to like an 8 times engineer. I'm not even kidding. Like engineering so often is not about writing good code. Like, sorry to burst that bubble, but like engineering more times than not is not about writing perfect, pristine, performant code. Engineering 9 times out of 10 is about implementing something that is reproducible, that is deployable, that is maintainable, and that is something that supports the bottom line, especially or at least if it's at a company. Anything outside of that is I don't want to say gratuitous, but it's a bonus. You know what I mean? There are companies that survive in our industry that are just meeting the bare minimum of writing software that is decently testable, that is decently deployable, like all of those things. You know what I mean? And they're making good money. Right? I talk about, actually, here's a prime example of this as well. I talk about Rox quite a bit, Rockstar 78. If you guys don't know him, he's a entrepreneur. He's somebody who loves building entirely his own projects, and then being able to lean on that as, like, you know, making profit. What is Rockstar's main goal? To be an entrepreneur. It's not to be an engineer. But what he does is he knows how to turn code into money, and like that is equally powerful. All right, buddy, have a good one. We'll see you soon, Cowface dude. So anyways, that's my rant. Like I said, being able to have the discipline to focus on what you need to be focused on, whether it be a simple project for work or a much bigger project, making it so that you have the discipline of being like, okay, you know, this is something I don't need to be focused on right now. I'm only going to do the bare minimum, or not the bare minimum, but, you know, what I need to solve the problem. And what we agreed upon. So with that being said, I think a lot of this looks good. I think that this is a really, really good start for us to kind of dig our feet into and give it a shot. What I will say is I do not want to spend the whole stream working on this. Mostly because we also have quirk stuff we need to do. If you guys don't remember, chat, we're in the middle of like writing the Discord bot updates. Oh, Rockstar 76. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I didn't mean to. I said 78. We do need to work on quirk stuff as well today. But I do think that this was a really, really good start at solving a problem we need to solve, which is we need to be able to integration test these services. Is there anything else? So I think Prisma, Dart, Pearl, Dart. I feel like there's more here, but we can add the rest of them later. Recently, I decided I'd make a Telegram bot to convert GIFs into WebM because a friend of mine wanted to make stickers from GIFs. I can easily do this in TypeScript, but decided to do it in Go because I want to learn Go. Problem is, I realized that I need to learn a bunch of stuff in Go before getting into this bot. I don't even know how to spawn processes and handle the stream, so I ended up giving up and going back to the node. Oh my God, yes. Dude, I want to be completely fair with you, Bruno. That is so okay. You have absolutely nothing, like, don't chat. I don't want any person in this flippin' stream to ever get discouraged by making that decision. I'm so serious, chat. Like, this is gonna sound hurtful, but like, suck it up. The best answer is to do it the way you know how to. You're gonna learn it eventually. You're going to learn it eventually. And if you want to take the opportunity to learn everything from scratch, then you should. And I don't think that that is a bad thing to do. What I mean by suck it up is more so just accept the fact that now's not the time, right? There are many times in our engineering careers where we want to do something, we're excited about doing it, and then when you go to practicality because maybe you didn't think about it, right? Like, for example, Bruno, in your case, right? You could have written a technical document, and then when you wrote that technical document and you looked at it and you went, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here I need to know about Go, you might have saved yourself some time, right? That's me being real, right? Because you didn't do that, right? You spent even more time leaning into the language and then going like, okay, I really can't do this now, right? That's okay. Like, that's fine. If you get like, if it's more important for you to build it than it is to learn it, that is something you need to embrace. And listen, again, like I've said, I deal with anxiety. I deal with a lot of like stress I put on myself because like I'm like, I gotta learn, I gotta be better, I gotta do it. Like every single day I do that. And one of the biggest things that I'm trying to get better at is not putting so much pressure on myself. That's just added pressure you don't need to put on yourself. It's okay. It's totally fine. You know what I mean? If it's more, and like actually Atoda kind of fell into this category too, because Atoda when we first started him learning, it was very much just like, all right, let's learn Neovim and da-da-da, and all of these things, you know what I mean? And then, you know, when we kind of like saw him like drowning essentially and all of this different changes and all of these things, you know, I looked at him and I was like, honestly, dude, just use Ubuntu with, you know, VS Code. Like that's like, you know, that's fine for now. Like you don't have to, you know, get comfortable, you know, swim before you can like, you know, go underwater without drowning, I guess is what I mean to say. So don't ever like hold that against yourself. That's okay. And as a matter of fact, what's a greater feeling is actually building the thing. You know what I mean? So you're going to feel good after you build it. You know what I mean? You're going to feel good after you build it. And here's the thing, you're going to feel probably better. Well, it depends. If your goal was to learn something, then your goal was to learn something. But if your goal was to really build it, you're going to feel better about building it than you will ever feel about learning things from it, because that was your real goal. You know what I mean? So make sure you know your goals. But if I keep hesitate like that, when will my skills grow? So you're not hesitating. You're being strategic, right? What you want to do, in my opinion, is you want to inject opportunity at your will. And that's very difficult to do. Especially if you don't have a lot of ownership over what you're building. Totally fair. I get that all the time. I understand it entirely. What you want to do is you want to be a 10x engineer. And you might ask yourselves, okay, BG, but like I keep hearing this all over the internet. What the a 10x engineer? In my opinion, a 10x engineer is somebody who takes ownership when they don't need to. That's what a 10x engineer is to me. I don't care about how much you know. I don't care about how good you are, whatever. And a real 10x engineer to me, somebody who I would hire over and over again, is somebody who would take ownership when they don't need to, right? I've done that my whole career. I have always like pushed some of my own ownership into the equation because I knew once I had that ownership, I could play. So I think that's part of it, is making it so that you can inject, you know, yourself into a position where you have ownership, where you can kind of play a bit. And then giving your opportunity to play, right? Like at Hippo, I'm not using Nix everywhere, right? But there was one repo that I was able to start using Nix in. And so it's basically the only repo I maintained solely, pretty much. Well, I shouldn't say solely, but it's one that I am known in the company to maintain. And so I was like, you know what? I'll put Nix in there. I threw it in there. And you know what? I did. And like within an hour, somebody was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just something I'm testing, you know? So I definitely think that you need to, don't worry, it'll be there in a second. The bot's got a cold start. I definitely think that you need to put yourself in a position where you can have that ownership that enables you to play more. If you don't have that ownership at work, then focus on your work growth at work and focus on your personal growth at home. And so what I mean by that is when you're at work, don't do any of those side things, you know, or maybe not don't do any of them, but try to focus more on like what the company needs and how you can apply those there. If there are opportunities there, then that's great. But you got to remember, you're hired to work at a company to build what they need to the best of your advantage, right? Or of your ability, right? Your ability, not theirs. So take that as well for what you need. But it's all about like time management, right? You don't want to be playing in two different places. Otherwise, you're just playing all the time and you're not getting anything done. And it's the same thing for getting things done and not playing all the time. If you're always working and you're never playing, then like it's a balance. So you need to be conscious of like where you're putting these efforts. If you don't have these efforts at work, then do them at home. If you do have these efforts at work, then focus on them at work and then, you know, do other things at home. But it's a balance. It really is a balance about time and what you want to focus on, you know. Learn to crawl before you can walk. Yep. I started a new position doing Azure Infra, and my boss dropped the bombshell to me on me that all devs have to use Chrome boxes. What? Why? What is their reasoning for that? That seems like that's going to be a challenge. Yeah, my goal was basically both of them. I want to learn Go, but also I want to quickly get this bot working so I can be done with it. I thought it would be a good opportunity to learn Golang and practical application, but it ended up being too much. So I decided I'll just make this bot with the tools I know and understand them Golang. Yeah, that's not a bad way at all of doing it, because also if you prototype it really fast, you can then say, okay, well, this is everything I used in Node. Where are all of these pieces in Go? And it's a lot easier to translate it at that point, instead of saying like, I don't even know what piece I need yet. That's the hard part. Like, that's the hard part when you're trying to learn and build something simultaneously, is you don't know the pieces you should be using to build it with, right? That's massively helpful. More so than you think. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty hyped on this. I'm very excited about being able to potentially do integration tests and stuff like that. Here's what I want to do though. I want to put a pause on this part, right? Because we need to get back to our Quirk stuff. We do need to get back to working on our changes, and we are going to be deploying our changes that we made last stream. But we need to continue working on this, because I really want to get this done as well. There's just so much stuff we have to do, chat. But I really want to get this done as well, because I want to wrap up the Discord managed roles stuff. This is something we've been talking about for a while. So this is something I'd really like to finish. If you don't know what this is, chat, I'll go ahead and show it to you really quickly. So if you guys don't know, we build a program, or I'm sorry, we build a platform here called Quirk. And if you've never seen what Quirk is, you can't, because it's invite only at the moment. But basically, it's at portal.quirk.tools. If you go there, you'll just see a login page. But basically, after you log in, you get to see our custom front end that we've built. Now, I completely built this front end on my own. This isn't like using a template or anything like that. So that's why you might look at it and go like, oh, that's interesting. But the main thing is that this is basically a StreamElements or Streamlabs competitor that we're building. We've been building it for a while. I would like to think that we've been growing it based off of our needs. And in the past, I would say year, it's been much more like, okay, we want to build this into a product. We want to start getting a lot of people using it and stuff like that. We've been talking about that for quite a bit. TwitchCon's just around the corner, and I'm not gonna lie, it's very tempting to try and get Quirk to a point to where we could start talking about it at TwitchCon, which is something I'm seriously considering, and that's in October. So that means that there's a lot of work ahead of us that we would like to do. Right now, we've got some pretty cool features. We've got features like calendar integration. So whenever you have events, you can put those events in the calendar system. And then we have notification systems that, every day, if you have an event for that day, it'll send out a reminder to your connections, whether it be Discord, Twitter, whatever. We also have complete chatbot integrations with all of our services that we provide. So for example, we provide chatbots for both Discord and Twitch. And so if you want chat commands, things like that, that's all powered by Quirk too. And then we have deeper integrations with specific platforms. So for example, Discord, we've got moderation stuff to do human verification, system messages, notifications to know when people either join the Discord, leave it, delete messages, so forth and so on. And the same thing for LiftX. You guys do this actually quite a bit. Whenever you change my lights, those light changes are powered through Quirk, and so change lights red, that changes lights red. So yeah, all of these are Quirk features and things that we're working with. And right now, the feature we're working on is something called managed roles. Now, the idea behind managed roles is that I should be able to essentially create an embed in my Discord that looks something like this, right? Using Quirk, and then when people react to this embed, say like this, right? They get added to a role, right? Now, when they get added to this role, this means that as a content creator, I can do things like nerds and be like, we got new content, right? And then what happens is, instead of doing at everyone, you know what I mean, and just blasting it out to a bunch of people, we get to do, more select broadcasts, so people you know, can kind of subscribe to what they want to see, or we can give that option at least. And it's a pretty dope feature. It's something that I'm very excited about having for Quirk as well as for our own personal stuff. Okay. So yeah, exactly. Just send out ass. Oh, right. I forgot I said that. I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah. Just send out ass. But yeah, sometimes we got to update people on stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we're working on. We've already got 2 different parts of the application set up right now. The first part that we've worked on was the bot itself. So Quirk is distributed. I don't have a chart for it, actually. I need to make a new chart for it, but it is distributed. We have like a bunch of different services that we use. And as a matter of fact, if I go to K9s, right, and then I go to dev dash this, every one of these is a Quirk service. Now, you'll see some of them are duplicated, like the API, the backend Discord, but the point of me telling you this is that Quirk has multiple services that we rely on. And the first one that we needed to update was the Discord bot. And the reason for that was we needed to make it so that when we hit an endpoint at the bot, we could create this subscription, right? We could create this embed, and we can delete it as well. And that's what we've done so far is we've created, if we go back to linear, we've created, if we go to done, I don't know where done is, manage Discord roles. Let's look at that. There we go. So if we look at the epic, you'll see manage create role, or manage role create endpoint, delete endpoint, and manage role task, meaning that we just created the task for all of this. So what we need to do now is we need to wrap up our manage role schema, because this is blocking, sorry, not that one. We need to, where is it? Where's our current task that we're working on? I forget. Is this it? Discord? We have no way to look up existing Discord messages in our system for others. Okay, cool. Yeah, so what we want to do now, chat, is we want to make it so that in the API from the service that we create the embeds in, right, the bot, so that we can actually look up for, we can look up existing messages. So the idea here, chat, is basically that once we create this message, we keep a record for it in our database. So whenever a new event comes through, we can check the database and be like, okay, is this a message we care about? If it is, okay, cool. What does it do? If not, no big deal. Keep moving forward. In this case, what's going to happen is when we react to this embed, it's going to trigger a reaction. So we need to be able to look up this message so that we can then know what to do with it. And so that's basically what we're working on right now. Now, last stream, if we go here to the API service, I believe we got to the point where, we were really able and ready to deploy our changes, right? Because we set our version to 2.4.0. However, I have not deployed those changes to dev yet. That's something we need to do. So what we're going to need to do really quickly is we're going to need to deploy our new version of the API to Kubernetes. So to do that, we're going to go to Pulumi service. Quirk Pulumi service. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I don't have any secrets in here. Okay, sorry about that. Had to check that really quickly. Okay, so what we want to do is let's go to the Circle CI file really quickly and make sure that we have everything we need. So if we go here, we've got update dev, refresh on-prem. Okay, so we're not actually refreshing any of the on-prem stuff yet, but that's fine. We only care about dev right now anyways. Okay, so that's good. Let's go to our API service. And we're going to need to update the version. So if we go here, see how it says 2.3.2? We need to say 2.4.0, right? Because that's the version that we need to deploy. One of the other reasons why we want to deploy this is because this service also handles our migrations. The migrations are triggered when we deploy the service itself. So what we want to do now is we want to say Doppler run, Pulumi update. Yep, there we go. And then I think instead of it being this, I think I just do who am I? And then we'll do Pulumi stack select dev. Oh, shoot. 1 second. Cool. Okay. Do I work with DevOps at my day job? I do. Yeah, I do. I'm a senior software engineer who works in DevOps. Pulumi. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. All right, so here's what we're going to do first. We're going to refresh the current stack. If you don't know what refreshing is, it just basically means that it's going to go out to the Kubernetes environment, everything else, and it's just going to validate and make sure that it has all of the latest state from the Kubernetes cluster. Like you see here how this says diff and then it had like a green plus there. That means that something happened or something changed underneath the hood that we weren't related to or we didn't know about. And so it's going to go out and refresh that and make sure it knows about all those things. How did I get that get prompt? It's something called lazy get. Lazy get. There you go. Yeah, it's a pretty dope tool. Yeah, of course. You should do exclamation mark help. Just type an exclamation mark help in chat. Oh, thank you. Oh, Otzi did it. Oh, I thought it was dang it, Otzi. You got me. I thought it was base what is it? Bass Peter, I think. No, you didn't break it. No. That's our command wall. We have a lot of commands. Field manager. That's new. Yeah, we have a lot of commands. But no, you didn't do anything. I wonder if this is like a new... That's a new value I've never seen before. Just do help. It'll be okay. Yeah, just do help. I probably scared them off. How dare you? Hey, how's it going? Hey, Chrissy, how's it going? Hello. I like how everyone's like, so many commands. Let me use them all. Yo, what's up, Mac? How's it going, man? We are waiting patiently for our state to update. I also did not mean to rhyme. I'm just nosy. That's okay. You can be nosy. You're more than welcome to be nosy. It's why it's there. So you could just be all sorts of nosy. We do need to clean up some of those commands. Like, for example, the only devs one isn't one anymore because that's not a team anymore. Yeah, I should probably clean up some of those. We should probably clean up some of those. I have a Nix Ansible question. Which one do you prefer and how easy is Nix compared to Ansible since I had struggles with Ansible? Oh, man, why'd you gotta ask me that question? I don't know, bro. Do you care about reproducibility? Oh, let's see. Let me ask you that. No, I'm gonna ask. No, you're fine. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm gonna help you. Do you care about reproducibility? And what I really mean by reproducibility is do you care about having the same configuration, like the exact same configuration everywhere, or are you just managing one computer basically? You do. Okay. What do you use? Okay, here's my second question. Do you use more than one? Thanks for clarifying. I thought you were talking about what? Okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I use Mac, Windows, Linux, and I need everywhere my dot files plus all softwares. Okay, okay. So here's the thing about Nix before we get super excited about it. On Mac, you cannot manage Nix on a low level perspective like you can with like no you're fine you're fine. You like for example with Nix OS, right? You can manage everything that you can do. Hold on, I'm Scotty. Relax. Let me finish. So, yes, you can do Nix Darwin. That's literally what I use. However, what I mean by that, okay, OETC and Scotty, give me a second. The experience is different with Darwin than it is with non-Darwin things. Nix Darwin is it's not like a fork, but it's its own separate thing that manages Darwin or Mac OS, right? And it gets close. Like, don't get me wrong. What Scotty is saying is not wrong. It gets close. But it does not manage the entire operating system in the same way that Nix does. And what I mean by that is that Nix basically manages like all your root dependencies, any packages you have installed, any applications you have installed, anything like that. With Nix Darwin, it can do all of that for you, but you also still have your Mac operating system. And so that's all I'm trying to say here is that with Darwin, the benefits you're really going to get are all in your shell. You can do lower level customization, some regards to Darwin, but like, for example, like on Nix OS, I installed Discord, right? That's like something I install and use. On Darwin, I don't install Discord because I just use it, I just download the installer and use it manually. Like I don't install it via Nix package manager. I just go and download it on a Mac. So that's something to think about. I have since, like, on basically the way, like, if you go to my dot files, I actually just merged these. If you go to my dot files, you're going to notice that I just made some big changes to it. And you'll see that my flake is actually super simple now. Or at least the very low, or the very, like, whatever part of it is. And you'll see I've got, like, a Darwin configuration, a Nix OS configuration, a Nix OS configuration. What I essentially do with this is I say, okay, well, if it's a Darwin system, I have a method or a function that I use to create Darwin systems with. And what it does is at a low level, everything in the shell is identical, right? So for example, for Darwin, you'll see I import home manager darwin.nix, right? And then if we go to Nix, I do the same thing, but I do nixos.nix, right? And then I like add a bunch of other things too. So I guess the TLDR is like, you're not going to get the exact same experience when you go from Linux to Darwin just because of some of the limitations around it. You could do a decent amount. Again, I'm not disagreeing with Scotty and what he's saying. But I am saying, like, if shell is all you care about, then okay, like, you actually might have a very strong use case for Nix, because that's what Nix does. Nix is able to take a configuration and build it on Mac and build it on Windows, and build it on Linux and build it on this and build it on that. Like, it's definitely able to do those things. And like, what's nice about it is it allows you to have one configuration consistently, and then it can shift and know what packages it should and shouldn't use. We're going to deploy this now, by the way. Sorry, I got distracted, chat. So you might want to look at Nix. Yeah. And I don't disagree. Yeah, I mean, Scotty, you don't, you know, I'm drinking the Knicks Kool-Aid. My only challenge is like, and I think Scotty or anyone else who uses Nix, you can relate to this, is just, I really want to make sure I'm not sending somebody down a black hole. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to say like, yes, you should do this, but again, I'm working on making a video. Like, there's just not a lot of good documentation out there right now on how to manage your dot files with Nix. And again, I'm making a video on it. I'm like constantly trying to figure out the best way to describe a lot of the things I share with you guys. So yeah, I think our Discord is a really good place to go. I would really, let's see, I know you're already in there, but I would really recommend joining our Discord and going to the Nix section and just ask your question, right? Like, there's a lot in here that, like, a lot of good resources just in this channel that can help you quite a bit. But again, don't worry, like, I'm working on solving that too. Why would you use Ansible if you don't care about anything I just said, right? Like real talk. If if you're curious, like, Etsy, like, oh, I want to automate my, dev environment, but I don't really care if it's Nix or Ansible, then just use Ansible. Because Ansible is super nice. It's super easy to set up. It's super simple. Unless you fall into some type of weird limitations or like, Etsy, I don't even totally know what your Ansible problem was. What was your Ansible problem? Like, what exactly were you dealing with? Okay, cool. We're good. All right, so we are good. The services have updated, as you can tell. So, all right, so the back end, that last container is stopping. So if that's the case, let's go and make sure that dev portal quirk.tools is loading. Looks like it is. Let's go here. Let's try logging in with our dev account. Error network. What? Oh, we're getting network request failures. Why? Dev.quirk. Okay. Dev API.quirk.tools. What? Are we? Let's try it now. Maybe it just. What? Cores allow origin not matching origin. Does not match dev. Oh, crap. Did I change something? Yeah, that's wrong. Okay, I see why that's doing that. Okay, I guess I changed something. So let's go to the API. We need to find the portal URL. So let's go to the config portal front end portal. Where does this think this? Yeah, Cores is always annoying. Ansible's a pain in the butt when it comes to dot files copying and installing stuff. I used a Docker file for it, so I can use Neovim everywhere with my dot files. Yeah, I mean, I was afraid of breaking my dot files. Why were you afraid of breaking your dot files? I don't understand. Can you help me understand that a bit more? Ansible's not that, like, it's not that complex. Like, what are we stuck on? Like, I want to help. I'm kind of curious on what this was. Do we need to do like an Ansible day, chat? Is that something you guys would like to do, where I just like show you guys Ansible for a day? I could do that. I mean, we totally could. So the portal public URL is dash. So where is dev API quirk tools? I don't understand where course header access allow origin does not match dev dash quirk.tools. That's not right. Like, why? why does this think that it's trying to validate under the domain? That's in the what's it called? Backend. Like what we should be giving it is this. Sorry, this portal public URL, which should be dev dot whatever. So something changed. Did I like break something in the code and I didn't even realize it? Source. Let's go to service. No, dude, there's no way. I didn't even touch that. Helmet. Validate origin. Yeah, here it is right here. Kube context. Portal URL. Yo, Lorenzo, thank you for the follow. So it's using the portal URL. Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. I think I might know what's happening. The portal URL. So, Quark Pulumi service. Let's go to API. Portal URL. Config. Portal URL. Okay. That's wrong. The portal URL should be the public portal URL. That's wrong. Yeah. Okay. We need to switch that out. So the portal URL should actually be the public portal URL. Oh, I remember this. I remember this now. Yeah, I remember this. Okay. So we just forgot to update it. Public portal URL. Wait a minute. What? Config. Public. Oh, portal public. Whoops, not portal public portal. Portal pub. What? Oh my God. Thank you. Uh, 16. This should fix it. Portal public URL. Okay. All right. So we need to redeploy this one more time. I would love an Ansible day. Maybe something focused on getting a fresh Linux setup ready for development. Bruno, I made a YouTube video on that. Yeah. I was like, I made a YouTube video on that. Yes. Yeah. I might have already made a YouTube video on that. Sorry. Well, so what I guess my question is, what do you feel in that video? What do you feel is not in that video that you might need? Setting up dependencies with Ansible. Oh, you mean like Galaxy stuff or like what? Like help me understand what you mean by that a bit more. No. You're fine, dude. You're fine. I'm just asking you what you felt you might have missed, or I might have missed. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely, for sure. Totes. Okay, this should work. Once these cycle their containers. Oh, my back. Yeah, feel free to give me your use case, though. Okay, 17 seconds. Come on. Come back up. You can do it. There we go. All right, so now we should be good. Hey, look at that. We're good. Okay. Woo! God, that scared the poop out of me, chat. All right, cool. So I got to remember that is not the right URL for that. Okay, so our dev environment is working. That is fantastic. So what we need to do now, chat, is we need to first see if we have that data in the database. So we're going to go to DataGrip really quickly, and I'm going to hide my screen so you don't see anything important. Okay. Okay. So what we want to do, chat, is we want to make sure that in our database explorer, and here, I can just put this over here so that you can see this a little bit better. We want to make sure that we've got our new table that see, there it is, Discord message. Okay, cool. So this is what we made last stream, chat. If you do not recall, we said that we wanted to create a record of Discord messages that we store in our database, right? It's going to have the channel ID, the guild ID, the message ID, the type of message it is, and then an actual ID that we can reference for internal relations, right? So what we're going to need to do is we're now going to need to make it so that we can pull this from our bot, right? Because this is going to be a request that's made to the API service from our bot. So let's do this. Let's go to API, right? And we're going to create a new branch. Should we do it? Should we try let's try a work tree. Why not? Why not? So let's do, what is it? Work tree? Message query. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working on. So what is it? Get work tree, add, managing multiple working trees. List. Okay, let's try it. So get status. We should be good. All right. So let's say get work tree. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Don't you do like a work tree init or something like that? Oh, let me read your use case. My bad. So for example, my script already sets SSH up, clones and links .files repo and stuff like that. But there's a bunch of dependencies that I have that are still, that I have to manually install later because they are not automated anywhere. Can I see your script? Ensure the target machine is in your inventory and the source exists in your Ansible controller. If the source is on the target machine, sorry, what was the question? Oh, here we go. So I used the built-in GitHub thing to clone my .files repo. Then I wanted to recursively copy the contents of it to the home folder. My first question is why don't you have your .files files in the same repo as your automation? Because that is what I did. So let's see, like the first thing I'm going to say there is think about maybe solving it that way. Because I don't, like, when we, like my .files, Etsy, if you go to my .files for, you know, the Ansible implementation, everything is in here, dude. Like if you click on a role, I don't copy anything or I don't clone anything. So for example, if you want to see how I do Neovim, Etsy, just click on Neovim in my role. Like, have you looked at mine? Like, actually, that's a solid question. Have you looked at mine? Because I almost guarantee you, dude, most of what you need, I've probably already done. I know you looked at them a bit, but like, what did you feel like this was missing? No, don't look at his. Look at mine. No disrespect, but like, I put more effort into making this a complete package. I think he is just trying to solve a problem for him. I would recommend looking at. No, it's no disrespect. I'm just being real. Like, mine is like, again, if you compare his to mine, his .files are more what he needs. You look at mine, I structure them in a way to where you can look at like every role. And like, I can do a lot of other things with mine that I don't think he can do. For example, like I can install just one thing with targeting, right? So for example, and in the video, I talk about it a bit where, like if you go to my .files script here that I made, I can actually do like dash target, pass off the target command to this command, and then just install one thing or update one thing. And I think he can do that too in some regard. But yeah, I would just again, I would look at his for sure, but I would highly recommend looking at mine just because mine cover a lot more of the system too, I think. Maybe a video going deep into Ansible concepts, like what are roles, what is the playbook, what is Ansible Galaxy? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. And to be fair, I'm not trying to bash on Prime. We love Prime. But again, my focus of me making this whole thing was to make it shareable, right? Just a suggestion, you don't need to follow it. No, I think it's good. Git clone bear, then work tree add branch if you want to use git work tree. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Okay, so let's see if I don't think I have anything in here. Cool, I don't. Okay, let's just delete it. Okay. And then we do git clone. You said bear? We saw you thinking it. No. Of course not. Okay, so is it git clone? Wait, git clone. I don't really normally bear clone stuff. Is it just -- bear? It is. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to backend API. I always go with the bear clone as well. It's probably a good call. It's probably something I'll do more in the future, especially if I use this more. Okay. Bam. Okay. So we've got our bear repository. The bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. There we go. So here's a question. Why is it in a .git file? Like why? Okay, so is it just because this is just the Git data? Right? Because like if I do git status here, I can't see anything. Like I have to go into the repo, right? To actually be able to do like git work tree list, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's because you didn't give it a name. Oh, okay. Well, let's give it a name then. My bad. So then let's go back here and we'll just say like quirk backend API. Okay, cool. So I just didn't give it a name. All right, cool. Do you have a way to automatically add new SSH keys to your GitHub account? No, that's a whole manual process. If y'all want to jump on the Ansible concepts, the actual documentation is pretty good. Like here, okay, hold on. We're going to diverge and we're going to do Ansible for literally 5 seconds. And the reason why I want to do that is because like, it's very simple to get started with Ansible. There's a few things that you really need to remember, at least when trying to do like a .files approach. The first one is that you're going to be running it against your local computer, right? Like that's just the first one, hands down, is that you're going to be able to, you're going to be SSHing basically into your own computer using Ansible, and it's going to run all these commands for you. So like at the very top, you're going to need to make sure that your hosts and your connection are set to local. You don't need an inventory file. I'm going to be clear. You do not need an inventory file. For this, you don't need one at all. All you need to do is make sure to tell it that the host is set to localhost and the connection is set to local. It knows how to take care of everything. As a matter of fact, at this point, I don't even think it uses SSH. I think it just uses the commands directly on the node. So this is something Lsp, Bruno, anyone else out there trying to automate with Ansible for local stuff. These are 2 very important lines that you need to make sure you have in your playbook, right? After that, it's just tasks, right? Now I have like this high level abstraction where like I have a list of roles that I default to, and then like I can exclude roles if I want for specific, like don't pay attention to any of this. This is just me making a list of what roles I want to run against, right? And then I run them. Right. And so, for example, if you're curious of like, how do I install Neovim, right? Roles, Neovim, right? And then you click on tasks, main.yaml. And then look, this is like Lsp, you can literally copy and paste this code because none of this is related to me except for maybe the paths, right? Like what's going to happen is it'll create this path for you temporarily. And it'll be there, but it's going to install Neovim. Like, look, dependencies, right? Dependencies, clone, right? Build, install. And actually, I think Prime and I do have very similar steps with regards to this because it's like simple. It's just the same thing. You do this anywhere, you know what I mean? Yeah, config folder, copy init Lua, copy modules, right? Like, this is all super simple, right? And then you go to files. Look, there's my init Lua, right? Like, And then if you were to say like, okay, well, how do I have, how do I organize all of my dot files for Neovim? They're in the role folder, right? So every role folder has its own thing. And you'll see, like, for example, Spotify, there's really nothing else to do with Spotify but to just install it. But one of the reasons why I'm saying my repo is very nice is because I isolate all of this so it's easy for you guys to grok it, right? So for example, if you're just interested in how you could get Node.js installed, right, you just click Node.js and then you'd see how I do it basically, right, or what I'm doing. In this case, you'll see I'm not even doing any type of installation. I'm just copying my npm-rc file, right? So yeah, I would recommend looking at the dot files. Take a look at my source code. Like I said, look at the roles. They should help quite a bit. Yeah. Is the Ansible user? No, that's built in. The Ansible user dir is something that's built in. That's an actual value that already exists. Yeah. Most of like in all seriousness, you should be able to run my whole, like if you follow my YouTube video, right? Like, so for example, the dot files YouTube video that I just linked, if you follow this video, and then you just like, instead of running the playbook that you make here, right? Instead of running the playbook that you make here, you run my dot files playbook, like my actual dot files one, you'll get my whole environment. So let's see, like that's something you could try too. Like if you wanted to, or any of you guys, if you just create a Manjaro VM with i3 and then you just run my playbook, you will get my whole environment. I don't think there's anything in there that is required. Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe, but yeah, like you should be able to do that. Okay, I'll do some stuff. Yeah, good. And I mean, again, feel free to ask in the Discord. Like, hit us up. That's what the community is there for. Like, we're here for you guys. Like, I don't want you. Like, listen. Again, the Nix thing is going to be a series of videos, and so like you're welcome to dive down that path yourself if you want to. What? Oh, that's fine. Okay. Oh, we need to add a working tree. Get work tree list. Okay, so get work tree add, right? I know that's part of it. And then detach, checkout, lock, reason, new branch, path. So say I've already got an existing branch in a remote that I want to use. How do I do that? Yeah, I'm saying do it in a VM. That's why I said make a VM. Yeah, make it in a VM. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Get work tree, add work tree folder name, remote branch name. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to copy the, right, like the name of the thing, except for, I guess we won't be able to do the feature part, huh? Unless we do like feature, right? Because it can't be. Well, actually, hold up. Does this mean that it will? Okay, I'm just gonna try it. Invalid reference feature. No, it's not. Oh, maybe I need origin. I might need origin. Quotes? I'm wondering if... Which one is it upset about? Origin, yeah. So it's upset about this one. But that's the branch name. Like, that is the branch name. Oh, but maybe I need to create a new branch? Right, because I saw -b somewhere. Oh, shoot. Hang on one second, chat. And then in this case, I realized you could just use this to move a repo to some other remote. What's the point of git clone bear? It just clones the git history data. It doesn't clone anything else. All right, let's see. Why do you not like this? I wonder. So let's do get work tree example. Oh, dang. Zummy, thank you for the 41 months, dude. To tier 3. Appreciate you, my dude. Thank you so much. Like no refs? No. We should have refs. Work tree list, listing active, moving. Oh, geez. Removing. Work tree add. Okay, here we go. Dash B. Okay, here we go. Okay, so dash B. Okay, all right, let's try this. Add dash B feature blah 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 blah. Feature. I think I'm gonna have to do it like 3 times. Preparing work tree, new branch name, not a valid object name. How is that possible? It's literally like get branch dash A. Did it create the branch? It didn't create the branch. Work tree dash B. Maybe it doesn't like it. Okay, hold on. Let's do this. Make dir feature. No, it doesn't care. Oh, wait, what? What was that? Why do I have LL? Oh. No. So the branch is fine, but the valid object name. So I can't have this. I bet you this works. Oh, no, that doesn't work either. Not a valid object name. What? What if I just do this? Wait, what? Where did it create it? Where did it... Oh, it's in feature. Okay. I was like, where did it create it? Okay, I see it. It's in feature. Interesting. So maybe we don't want that. Okay, let's try this. Get work tree list. Get work tree remove. Get work tree list. Right, yeah. No, I got you. Yo, Zummy, again, thank you for the 41 months, dude. The tier 3, my brother. I appreciate that. Yep, I'm following you guys. Okay, so here's a question. Do you guys put all of these folders like in this one folder? Or do you like create your branches here as well? This is like get magic I've never witnessed. It's just get work tree, man. It's just get work tree. So here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering like what flow I like. Now, again, I know that there are things out there that can help with this. Don't worry. But I'm just thinking about what I like right now. Now, I know that if I do this, right, this is going to create a new branch called featured quirk, blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to create a directory called quirk 50, blah, 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 with my source code in it. So if I do this, oh, already exists. Wait, what? Get work tree list. Get, oh, branch dash D. Yeah, because the branch itself still exists. Yeah, there we go. So we go back here. And now, again, what work trees do, chat, is they take a branch and they put them in their own directory so that you can have a bunch of branches locally in their own directories that you can individually work on and close and finish them one at a time, right? And so that's kind of like what I'm just, messing around with here. Now, like I said, in the past, I had problems where I couldn't really do this because of like issues I had with regards of like reproducing secrets and stuff like that. But in this case, it might not be as terrible, so we're going to try it out. So get work tree, add. Yeah, so if I do this, right, and then we go to our folder, see, there it is, right? So there's our quirk 50, blah, 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 right? And yeah, like Max says, you don't have to stash stuff when switching to branches or need to like have to reinstall things or stuff like that. It's just you get a brand new branch and you work in that brand new branch. You know what I mean? I'd basically just clone the repo again. And I would too. Yeah, to be fair, I totally would too. So here's the one thing I like every part of me is just having difficulty with. It's the fact that this is cluttered with the same code, with the same stuff. Now, however, technically, I guess you could kind of look at this as like they're two separate things, right? Because if you look here, if I do a git status in this folder, you're going to see that, look, if I do pwd quirk backend, right, just the bare repo, you're going to see that it's like, hey, like, I don't know what you're talking about. You got to be in a working tree, right? So when we go into a working tree and then we do git status, right, this is where git is able to link the history. This is why, well, not why, but this is why you clone it and then create branches, is because it's linking the history to this specific folder, essentially, or this is the history for it. And you'll notice that in this folder, look at this. I don't have a .git file. You notice that? How I don't have a .git folder in here? That's because it's here. This is the .git folder, this top layer folder now. So the question, again, this isn't really the question, but it's just kind of like, how do I want to manage this? Because I'm almost kind of thinking like maybe I do want to do the whole like have it be in its own like features folder, right? Like I might actually do that, because then it's like branches, features, hooks, info, hot fixes. You see what I'm saying? Like I actually might like that within this organization. I just got to remember that features isn't a part of the main Git source code, if that makes sense. So let's do add again, feature. This time I'm going to see if I can do it one more time. So if we do feature slash, yeah, so it doesn't, oh wait, git branch d, yep. Yeah, look at that. And it created it in the feature folder now, right? So now I've got all my features in here. If I have a hot fix, right, I'd have like dir hot fix. So that's kind of cool. Okay, I actually, I love organization, chat. Woo! Okay, I'm actually pretty excited about this. Ooh, that could be, I actually like this. Yeah, because then you could have like all of your hot fixes in here that you're working on, all of the features you've been working on. Okay. I like this. Yeah, I like this a lot, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to spend an absurd amount of money on an espresso machine. I need therapy. Hey, you know what's going to happen, Bruno? You're going to do what I did. You ready for this? You're going to buy an espresso machine, and then you're going to go to the point where you go, I must have it pure. And then what you're going to do, you're going to do this. You're going to say that I need the most purest caffeine to my bloodstream as I possibly can, and then you're gonna get one of these guys, and you're gonna start making your espressos the old Italian way, because that's the only way to make a true espresso. It's not. That's definitely. It's a mocha pot. Yeah. It's a mocha pot. Yeah. But no, that's definitely the Italian way. Yeah, it's a mocha pot. But no, I'm just saying that. Yeah, you're eventually gonna get to a point where you get so bougie with your coffee that like you're gonna have basically a Starbucks in your kitchen, which is what I did. I think so. Yeah, they're bits. If you're talking about, well, it depends, because there's a few different ways you can actually make espresso technically. But I'm going for the espresso because it's expensive. I mean, it's good. So I actually, speaking of like expenses, I used to order Starbucks. Do you guys remember when I used to order Starbucks every day? Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I make the coffee now. It was a good call. It was a good call to do that way. Okay, cool. So we have our branch open. right? Cool. Okay. So I should be able to do like a yarn install, right? Yeah. Do I have a French press? No, I don't. I don't really like French presses, to be honest. And I know that's probably like, what? I'm not a big fan of French presses. Yeah, it's just not my cup of coffee. Mochas are great, but don't really make true espresso. It's pretty close to yeah, I just meant a more traditional sense. I didn't mean a true one. I meant more traditional, right? Like more, yeah, that's all I meant. Yeah. Actually, that's what I'm drinking right now. The coffee I made this morning. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and hop into this. Ooh, I did not mean to make that big. Okay. All right, so what do we got? So we have our nice little working tree now, which is pretty dope, pretty hyped on that. And we also have our end node modules installed, which is great too. So now we need to be able to, what did we say we're doing? We have no way to look up an existing, is what this should be existing Discord message in our system from other services, in our API service from other services. That's a better way of putting it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to go to query and we need to go to service, right? Now, who here, chat, I want to actually, I'm going to do a poll really quickly. I need your participation, okay? Worked with GraphQL. Yes. What? All right. How many of you have worked with GraphQL before? I'd like to know. I'm just putting out this so I can have a better understanding. One of the things that I've realized is I work with a lot of different things, and sometimes I just expect you guys to know what it is, but it's more helpful to you guys if I sit and explain it before I implement it, so that you can watch it and be like, okay, I actually know what the is going on. So that's why I'm asking. There's a no option missing. I mean, the what is supposed to be the no option. I cheaped out on my machine a bit. Just doesn't have a pump power or heating power that I wanted. I mean, if it gives you the coffee that you want, or if it gives you coffee you're happy with, then that's good to me, honestly. I roughly know what it is, but haven't worked it. Who the hell's GraphQL? Where they been? Oh, chat, that's right. I gotta make the redemption for the country accent, so that we need to figure out how long of a country accent I should have when it's redeemed, and then I will do that for that period of time. I'm so sorry, but GraphQL died of like nice. I worked with it and still don't know what it is. Feels bad, man. Hey, that's okay. That's what a lot of people deal with, to be honest with you. All right, so I'm getting over, no matter what, it's skewed, or it's not skewed. It's basically 50-50 with the basic of a lot of us probably don't know what it is. All right, so let me explain to you guys as quickly as I possibly can what GraphQL is. And do you know how I'm gonna do it, chat? We're gonna do it with a chart. Okay, so let's go. I feel like I need like another chart let's make a new chart, and we're gonna call this one like examples, right? And this one will kind of be like examples of technology and stuff like that, so that like if I ever need to use these again in the future, I don't have to do this again. All right, so let's talk about what GraphQL is in the simplest terms. So GraphQL overview. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say that this here is our HTTP server. Okay, now our HTTP server can be in Node, it can be in JavaScript, or I'm sorry, it can be in Node, it can be in Go. We'll say Node, Go, etc., whatever, right? But this is our HTTP server. Now this is very simple, right? It just takes routes, right? And what we'll do is we'll say like client, right? And we'll say that you are the client, right? In this case, right? And we'll say that this is the client, client. And so we'll say that the client goes out to the HTTP server, right, to make the request, right? This is very, very simple. We're all pretty aware of this scenario, right? This is a normal website, essentially, right? So the client goes out to the HTTP server. Now, in a normal scenario, right, what would probably happen is this HTTP server would then have what we like to call, I want to be the HTTP server. Ooh, naughty. What we like to call routes, right? So technically what we would say then is we'd say okay, well, we want to make our HTTP server more complicated and say that a route is what you actually go to. And that is, actually technically it would be the inverse. It would be the HTTP servers first, and then you get routed through a route to where you're trying to go, right? And then this route, if you've ever worked with by the way, if you haven't, you guys should definitely hang out with Atoda on the weekends. He's been working with stuff that is basically this to the T. He's been working with Nest. And this is what Nest does, right? Nest provides you with an HTTP server, with a route, right? And then that route goes to a method, right? And this can be a logical method is what we'll call it, a logical method, right? And this is what we're all used to. Are we all on the same page of this scenario here? This is your standard RESTful thing, right? This is basically REST right here. Cool. So when we talk about GraphQL, what we're going to do is first, to make this a little bit more, relative for our next example, we're going to do this. We're going to say that this also provides more than one route, right? That's kind of how you do all of your requests, is through something called routing, right? So this is a good scenario of a normal RESTful service, right? So if we talk about a GraphQL service, right? The beginning is the same. We have a client that goes to an HTTP server. However, this next part is a bit different. Now, it always goes to the same route. This is the first thing to note. It goes to a singular route always, right? And then what happens is, instead of going to a logical method, it goes to what GraphQL calls a graph schema. And this graph schema is kind of like a router, kind of, right? But the idea of using this graph schema versus using routes for everything else is that then when we go beyond this graph schema, we can provide all of these different schemas, right? So we could say a user schema, right? We could have a post, right, schema, right, so forth and so on. And so what happens is, when you make a request via GraphQL with your client, in your request, you tell the GraphQL server which schema you want to use, or which schemas you want to use. And so what happens is the route then, using GraphQL, right, looks at that schema and says, oh, okay, well, they said they want something from post, and then they want something from user. And it goes out and basically, using its smart dependency tree, goes out and retrieves all of this data for you, like this, right? Now, the cool thing about this is in this scenario, if we wanted to abstract this a bit more, we'd have to say okay, well, if this is a Redis cache, right, and we want to utilize this, then what we have to do is we have to say okay, well, this logical method goes out to this Redis cache, and then this logical method goes out to this Redis cache, right? with GraphQL, what we do is we actually make it a schema. And you probably wouldn't call it Redis. You'd call it something else, like a cache schema, right? Like a cache schema. In this case, we can call this a cache service, right? And so then what happens is with this schema, this cache schema, right? We tell the GraphQL schema about it so that it knows where to go, right? But because GraphQL is about like graphing tons of endpoints together, right? What it means now is when we get to here and we start telling it like, okay, we want to get this from the cache schema and this, it means that now this goes out to Redis by itself. And then when we need something, it will graph in that schema with the other schemas. And this is why GraphQL is super powerful, is because in a RESTful approach, right, you have to have like all of these routes, and then you have to have validation around them, and then you basically have to figure out how you share the logic between these routes and all of that kind of stuff, right? And you do something like this. In a GraphQL sense, you just have one route, which is, in this case, it's actually post, technically. And this post route then reads your GraphQL schema and says like, okay, well, you said you wanted, data from the post schema. You said you wanted data from the user schema. You wanted data from the cache schema. We're going to combine all of that together and then give that to you in the client. Does that make sense? Does that help? Does anybody still not understand how GraphQL works? It's right? It's understandable if you don't understand it entirely, but does this help, I guess, at least is my question, right? Like, does this fill the gaps with regards to like, I don't understand how REST is different. Again, this is REST, right? Very simple, HTTP server, route controllers, logical methods, goes to services, right? In a GraphQL approach, HTTP server, right? Same in the beginning, right? Even here, except for we just use one route, post, right? And then we have a schema that we declare, and we're saying the word schema purposely here, right? And we have a post schema, a user schema, a cache schema. And what's cool too is like, say this user schema has something in cache that's only specific to users, then you can tell it, hey, in my user schema, you just go get this one piece of user data, right? And then maybe in my post schema, I actually need Postgres, right? So in my post schema, we grab from Postgres, right? But in my user schema, we grab from Redis. And you see what I'm saying? So this is the power of GraphQL, is you're basically saying everything's behind a schema, and then whatever those values exist as in the schema is where they have to go. Technically, if you really wanted to, you could even do this. You could do this too. This is very possible with GraphQL. Right here. You could do this, where you could say the post schema, right, grabs from Postgres and Redis from both locations, and then it zips them up together so that you just get your post information. This is what like Facebook and all of the huge companies use GraphQL for, right? This is what really makes GraphQL super powerful, is when you say like, okay, I've got all of these different services where this data exists in all of these different locations. I'm going to zip them up and tie them together with a schema in GraphQL. And this is why GraphQL got so popular, is really because of this use case here. Because people were able to start saying like, oh man, I can just create a basic schema and then like bring in my user data from here and my cache data from here, and then just return this post schema, and it's got everything I need. And what's cool too is like, say for example, you have user data that has a post schema inside of it. You can even do this, chat, which you can say, all right, well, instead of this, right, I'm going to move this forward, and this is actually a relation on the user schema. And because GraphQL can handle that graphing so well, it will first resolve the post schema, all its data, and then it will nest it into the user schema and then return both of them for you. So again, this is really, really, really why GraphQL can be very powerful compared to just something like this, where you can easily nest schemas, nest data, all of that kind of stuff, and have a lot of flexibility with that. Yo, what up, Griffin? How's it going, bud? The post schema is the huge part. Another cool thing is prepared queries. All the Facebook uses them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you write your prepared query. You tell the server, this is the schema I want back, and then you get that back, right? So for example, we have those as they're called documents in Quirk. So for example, if you wanted to say like, hey, BG, let's look up like what a service command query looks like. It looks like this. This is a GraphQL query request, essentially, right? And so here you'll see I have query because it's a query, right? And then I have service command because that's what I named it, right? I have an input of service command input, so I can actually give it inputs if I want to, or arguments, right? And then we say it's in the service schema, and actually it's nested in the service schema in the command schema. And so we want to get back the ID, the name, the text, and the command type. What you don't know is that the command type here, this object nested in this object, is actually in a completely different table. And what we do is we mask it away by saying, well, you just get the command type, and then GraphQL knows how to grab that data for us. Yo, Griffin, thank you for the 36. Dude, 36 on 36. Haven't missed a single month. I think you're one of the few people who's got that level of a sub and has never missed it. So thank you, dude. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, buddy. Don't you think that GraphQL is overly complicated or complex? Yeah, absolutely. Thunderdog, like real talk, there's a lot of people who, when I first started working with GraphQL, you know what's funny about Twitch chat, and Griffin can attest to this, like any streamer can attest to this. Anything you use, chat will tell you why it's wrong that you're using it. It doesn't matter, because the reality of it is that there are people who like things and there are people who don't like things. And so like when I first started using GraphQL on stream, because I was super interested in it, I had tons of people coming in and being like, why are you using GraphQL? It's so overcomplicated. Da, da, da. So like I spent a lot of time talking with people and like being able to build a good discussion around when it is valuable and when it isn't. And I think that's the best thing to know when working with GraphQL, is really when it's valuable and when it isn't. In all seriousness, I should not have used GraphQL for Quirk. And you're probably going to be like, whoa, why, BG? Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of really great benefits I got out of it. The challenge really was its complexity. I started using GraphQL 4 years ago. This was before TypeORM, Type GraphQL, like any of the CLI generation tools for GraphQL. Like I hadn't used any of that stuff. And I just dove in head first because I fell in love with the technology and how interesting it was. But the reality of it is if I had stuck with REST, I would probably, even though I would probably have like almost probably the same amount of like routes to schemas, it would have been a little bit just more straightforward, I think. With GraphQL, there's things that you have to concern yourself with that are different in the sense of like how you do it with GraphQL than HTTP or than normal routes, like authentication. These are methods. Like with GraphQL, they're just schemas. So when you talk about like authenticating these endpoints, it's a whole other can of worms, because you have to figure out like, okay, like how do I want to do role authentication? How do I wrap that? And then you end up doing like a lot of like middlewares and stuff like that to getting it to work. And if you don't know how to confidently do those things, it can be challenging. That was a big one for me. And I actually made a conscious decision in my GraphQL schema to split my service queries from my user queries. And you might be like, BG, well, what does that mean? Essentially what it means is that any document you see, right? Any document you see here, you're going to see it says like documents query user, documents query service. And then if we look at one of these, you're going to see that it's always wrapped in either a service or a user. In this case, it's a service looking up a user. Whereas if we wanted to, we could be like user, and then this is a user looking up a command, right? So this was how I kind of got around authentication. But the thing is like, GraphQL is a bit like even like gRPC or tRPC or things like that, as it was mentioned in chat, where it's a bit like unless you know how to use them, you can also like hack a lot of it. This was a hack. Like, me doing this enabled me to make it so that I can send both both microservice and service requests and user front-end requests to the same service. I was basically making a monolith. The reality of it is I should have split these into two separate GraphQL services if I wanted to keep GraphQL, and then just use GraphQL for the front end, and then maybe use like something simpler for the back ends, right? Or just not use it at all, right? But because I was like, I tried hacking it and making it work, I'm kind of stuck in this really weird place now where it's like, I want to keep using GraphQL, but I need to like remove the hack so that I can move forward. So like, it's things like that. It's just not as straightforward. It's just not as straightforward. That's really the bigger thing. Thank you for the intro. These schemas are single app process container or multiple apps like services. So to be clear, the schemas are totally up to you. The schemas can call just, one database. They can call a database, a service, a caching layer, like this, there is GraphQL. Let me say this as well. If you have the thought or the expectation that GraphQL manages these connections for you, it does not, right? GraphQL just gives you methods that you inject. So you're still going to use like Sequelize or TypeORM or stuff like that. You're still going to use those things. You don't get rid of those schemas. These schemas sit on top of your other schemas, right? And that's what I mean by this is an added layer of complexity, where like, if you want to just have database, tables exposed, via endpoints, you don't have to really recreate this schema more than once. Or you technically do that. Like, for example, if you want to have your user schema in Postgres and in GraphQL, you do things like what we're doing, right? And I've actually shown you guys this, where if we go to like an entity, right, for like a user, we've got two decorators. We've got an object type decorator, right? And this object type decorator, if you look at it, it relates to type GraphQL, right? And then you'll notice that we also have an entity decorator right underneath it. And that's because this one handles the type ORM part, right? Type ORM. So we're able to mix the two, and this is like a lot of people are like, why do you use type GraphQL and type ORM? Because I can literally just have it in one place and decorate these classes. So when I'm decorating this user class here, I'm not just saying that this field is for Postgres. I'm actually saying that this field is also for type or for GraphQL. And so when this schema is created, it's going to be created identically in both locations, basically. I hope that makes sense, though. All I think is the query schema is much simpler. It looks the same amount of time to query the data. Yeah, no, there's no... I don't think there's actually... I mean, reality... Sorry, cat hair in my nose. I don't think there's any performance improvement. Like, you'd probably actually lose performance, technically. If unless you meant... I guess I mean to say is if you're just doing, like, a bare bones request... right? And then you like put GraphQL on top of it, you might have a bit of a performance degradation, but you're going to get more value out of it, I guess is the word I'm looking for. You could mix GraphQL with the REST API if you wanted to, but I would say that like you probably don't want to unless you have a specific reason, right? Like what I would suggest is like all of your again, your back end, that's all REST. Your front end, that's all GraphQL. Front end's really great for GraphQL. I don't want to seem like that's not at all. I just don't know if I would use it for my microservices again. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would do that. But maybe. I don't know. Maybe. All right, so let's go back here. So we have no way to look up an existing Discord message. So like I've just told you, we have no way to look up an existing message in our API from other services. So I just told you that we need a graph, right? We have a graph here. Now, I showed you the entity part. And if we go in here, right, and we go to entity, ENTITY Discord, you'll actually see there's our entity. So remember when I told you, yo, root privilege, thank you so much for the 4 months. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good week. Hope your day is going well. Thank you so much for the 4 subs. Or the 4 months, sorry. Thank you. So let's look at this, right? Discord message. This is the schema that we want in our database and in GraphQL, right? So what do? Well, we have our embed for the type of Discord messages we store, right? We then register that enum type with type GraphQL, right? Type GraphQL doesn't just know about our enums. We have to tell it about our enums, right? And so in this case, what we're going to do is that we're actually going to say Discord message type. That's our Discord message type enum, not our Discord bot, whatever. And then you'll see here, we have our class. Now, on top of our class, we have 2 decorators. The first one is object type. This defines the class in type GraphQL. Or I'm sorry, in GraphQL. The entity decorator defines it in Postgres, right? So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here using decorators by basically saying that this class is not only a type ORM or a type GraphQL entity, but it's also a Postgres entity too, or a GraphQL and a Postgres entity. Or schema and entity, whatever. And so what do we do next? Then we immediately start defining our schema. So you'll see here, we have our first field. What is it? It's our ID, right? So our ID is a string. It's in the ORM or the Postgres category. It's a primary generated column. And in the GraphQL world, it's a field with an ID field value, right? Same thing for channel. Channel is a field. Now you'll notice that here we've got ID field and then field is there's like nothing here. The TLDR on this is that this makes sure that it knows that it's a UUID versus this doesn't need to because it's just a string. So it knows like, okay, I'm just going to make it a string. So we don't have to do anything special here. Then we tell it, hey, we actually have some validation of a length, right? So we say like, hey, it's got to be within, either 1 character or 255. And then we also tell it, hey, this needs to be a column in our database with a varchar type. Same thing for guild ID, same thing for message ID. And then down here at the bottom, we talked about our enum and how again, it being a specific type, we have to pass that type. We do that here. We say that it should be not empty. And then in our database, we say that the column is a Discord message type. Cool. So this is our whole schema, right? But this doesn't mean that we can just access it in our like root queries, right? This is just a schema that exists, but we can't query it yet. We need to set that up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our service queries, file, and you're going to notice that this is just a big file with like 2 definitions primarily. The first one is going to be input types, right? You can consider these our parameters. So our input types are like the parameters or the message body that we send to our endpoints. In GraphQL world, we call them inputs, right? And again, it looks very similar to our GraphQL schemas, right? Where it's a class, it implements a partial reputation, and then in here we say that we have a field that is nullable, and it's the Discord ID. And then we have a field that is nullable, and it's the Twitch ID. And then we have a field that's not nullable, and it's the user ID, right? So what we want to do is we want to implement a query that takes on inputs and all of that stuff for our Discord message. Now, we can do that by finding this. Okay. So here is an example of an actual query in GraphQL schemas. Now, when we talk about schemas in general, GraphQL doesn't care if you're returning one thing or tons of things. And it doesn't really care where you get those things from as long as you have a method for it. So when we go to do a query for our Discord bot, right? And if I actually do Discord bot here, look at the query next to the code. So we say that service Discord bot takes an input of Discord bot input, right? Well, here in our service code, you can see that we have a field for our Discord bot that returns a Discord bot. right? Well, there's our field. That's our field right there. Discord bot is this function right here, right? So this is how GraphQL maps schemas to functions. It literally says like, okay, is this a field? Cool. It's a function now, and it can do whatever you want it to. So what we're doing is we're saying that, hey, when we want to do a service query against our Discord bot, we want to run this function with this input and so forth and so on. So to do that for our Discord message, what we're going to do is we're simply going to go here. We're going to change this to message, right? Change this to Discord message as well. We want to say that it's nullable because it is, right? And then we want to say that we don't have a Discord bot input, but we're going to copy this. And then we're going to go down here and under Discord bot group input, we're going to say Discord command input, right? And then we'll say instead of it being a partial of a Discord bot, right? This is going to be a partial of a Discord command, right? Now the partial basically makes it so that we can easily know when, Discord, wait, what? Oh, Discord message. Sorry, not command, Discord message. The partial just tells the compiler or whatever you want to call it that the only values we allow in this class are values that are from Discord message. You don't have to have all of it. That's why it's partial. But we want to make sure that we at least have those values, right? Now, what we're going to do for now is the only thing we really care about is the message ID, right? Message ID. And we're going to say that this is actually required, right? This is not nullable. So we're just going to get rid of this entirely so that that's not nullable. And we're going to say that this Discord command input, Discord message input, right, is only going to take a message ID. So now if we go back to Discord message, right? Discord message, right? Like this down here, right? We then change our input to Discord message input. And then there you go. We now have a GraphQL schema wired into our like root schema, right? This is a new schema. However, it's just one thing. So we're just wiring in the Discord message. What does that mean? That means that whenever we query this, we should get back Discord messages, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say Discord message, right? Find one. And then we don't have relations of any kind, so we can get rid of relations. We don't need any of that. We also don't have guild ID or any of this. Our input, remember, is just our message ID, right? Message ID, right? And then the options, we don't even need options really, or we can, but we're just going to say const where equals message ID, right? Because that's the message ID we want to look up in our database. And now, chat, you can see how you wire GraphQL into PostgreSQL or TypeORM or whatever your ORM is, right? So now what's going to happen is whenever I make a query with that document, right? If we go back to documents, service, Discord, or service, Discord, in this case, we'll just look at the Discord bot one, right? Whenever we make a query with service Discord message, right? And we give it the message ID that we want, what are we going to get back, chat? We're going to get back a Discord message, right? But it might not exist, so we're going to say that it's nullable. All right, guys. I hate to cut it here, but I got to go. I have a meeting right now. I have stand-up I got to get to, so I actually got to call it. Sorry to have to end it so fast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. I know I'm sorry. I just realized it's noon, and I have to get to a meeting. As a matter of fact, let me message my team and say I'm going to be a few seconds late to stand up. Hold on. Few minutes late to stand up. Okay, cool. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Again, if you are new to our channel, be sure to check out this little blurb right here. We are a co-hosted channel by me as well as my good friend Atoda. I basically code during a week and Atoda codes on the weekends. If you're interested in more advanced content and things like that, that's what we do on the week. If you're interested in newer content, things where you're also learning, you're interested in like learning how to build new things and stuff like that, you should definitely check out Atota's streams on the weekends. You guys should also check out our YouTube. We have a brand new YouTube. We are trying to make it grow. Please subscribe to it. Check it out regardless. You don't have to subscribe to it, but check it out regardless. We have 2 videos up there that I'm very proud of. The first one is going to be the dot files video that I made. We were talking about it earlier with Ansible. I highly recommend checking out that video if you're interested in automating your dev environments. And then I also put out a brand new video if you're interested in Nix. We're tiptoeing our feet into the Nix world. And so if you're interested in anything about that, I think the how to set up Nix with Python is just a good video for anybody who's interested in Nix, not just something with regards to Python. For Arch, sorry, what? Yeah. That's here. So if you're interested in my dot files, I do have the video on dot files. That's all related to Manjaro stuff. You're welcome to check that out. Also check out the dot files repository for both Manjaro and Nix. I use both. Mo, I'm so sorry. I do have to get going. Be sure to check out our Discord. That is where our community grows in the off airs. You're more than welcome to hang out with us, chat about anything you want. We also have a really great community around DevOps, programming, Nix as well, all that good stuff. So please feel free to join the community. We'd love for you guys to be a part. You'll also be able to get our notifications when we go live, so you never miss when we go live in the Discord too. Last thing, be sure to check out our social medias. We also post when we go live on social, all that good stuff. I will see you guys Friday. I will be back Friday for more coding, so I hope to see you guys Friday. Let's go raid somebody really quickly. Let's go raid Metal and Coffee. We haven't had an opportunity to go raid Metal and Coffee. She is awesome, really cool streamer. We share the wonderful opportunity to be on the same team together. We're on the Pogrammers team together. So let's go say hi to Metal and Coffee. You guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. I hope you guys have a really great rest of your day, and I hope to see you Friday for more whatever this is. Okay, love you guys. See you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.